Happy Monday. Welcome back to Retake the Week. Man, it's been another busy 7 days with some pretty huge, I think, relatively earth-shattering changes happening. Notably, of course, we had the destruction of the Death Stars. I put it on Twitter, finally, that looming threat, that everlasting presence, that domination of Vitality has ended. But before we get into all of that, all the Cologne talk, all the retakes, all the little events also that I've been tracking, following, and I'm sure some of the matches you guys have been paying attention to. I remember my Discord lighting up during a certain matchup for Team Liquid. We do need to talk about the people who make this show possible, make the show so cool. Those are the members. No, not you, Quack. Stop pointing at yourself. Without the members, obviously, this show would not be available audio only. It wouldn't be half the project it is. So thank you so much to the members. You do have access to the King's Court interviews, latest one with Onyx, who made some promises in that video that he hasn't quite lived up to so far. If you want to go listen and find out what I mean, go give that a listen, members, if you are interested. Of course, the BTS segments, which this week lasted about an hour, thanks to some great distractions and conversations, and of course the Prospect of the Week demos, which I need to update this because there's basically going to be some new formatting to that. Every Tuesday there will be a members only sort of release. It's a full-on public live stream, but then a members only VOD that is essentially a Prospects video based on a smaller group of demos though. So please check that out if you're interested and want to support the channel. But let's get back into this. We do have... Okay, the cock was on screen. I don't know why that cock was on screen. We do have to start with Cologne group stages. The Cologne group winners. Obviously, a bit of an interesting conversation, seeing as we know who won. Like, we know who made it out of the groups. But was there anyone, Quirk, that you felt deserved a bit of a good on you? Like a pat on the back for how they performed in the actual Cologne group stage?
I think, we're going to mention him later, but I think as an individual, I think Yusuke is the obvious one. And you have to give it to him. For the rest of Falcons, I'm not sure I can give it to them that much. But him in particular, yeah. I think FaZe should take a little bit of a pat on the back here, because they do still take out, like we spoke about because last week we were pretty much midway through this group stage, and I did say that this lower bracket, as much as it is a couple of teams that are a bit weakened, it's still quite stacked because they had to play Liquid, which yeah, they're a bit of a laughingstock, but it's still very talented players, and in a lot of these games, sometimes you can just get a random show-up performance. They had to play Aurora. Yes, they're missing Xantares, but Aurora still had they still had a little bit of punch to them, and they made good work of them. And then it's the NAVI game where it's yeah, NAVI definitely were stronger here, and you can sort of take that loss. So I want to give a bit of a pat on the back to FaZe. And I think from the same group as well, NiP definitely deserve a bit of praise here, because not only making it out of that first stage, I believe they also did actually put up a decent fight in the groups. And we said last week that the lower bracket heroic NiP game was basically their grand final. That's all they had to play for, because they were not making it out of the groups. They were not gonna... That's what we said anyway. I think the NAVI game was close enough to show that NiP could have been in this playoff, but that's the game that they had to win, the NiP heroic game. Both of the teams would have had a lot of value out of winning that game, and NiP were the ones who managed to do it. So I have to give them some credit there.
Yeah, the FaZe thing is, obviously it doesn't read that favorably when you talk about who they beat. Obviously, no one is high on Liquid right now. There's great reason not to be. They have been genuinely embarrassing, and I think honestly some of these players should be outright ashamed of how they've played over the course of the last sort of 2 months. But then Aurora without Xantares is kind of just not a team. It just feels like they're so flat. So look, Aurora beat NiP in a fairly close game. You're like, oh, okay, they still got some firepower, but then you remember it's only quotation marks here just based on experience and some of these players. NiP in the end, they get absolutely thumped by this FaZe roster, who are themselves, freshly bringing back Brokey after he's been punished. It's a bit of an awkward situation, and I think the NAVI loss was pretty telling as far as their actual level. But for them, I think it is a victory just in that they weren't swept aside. Despite having to bring back Brokey, it's a bit of a tester. He has strong performances. If you look, his rating overall, pretty good. Pretty good. This is not a terrible Brokey showing. This is a pretty solid Brokey. I think this is positive for FaZe in terms of what they hoped to get out of the group stage, but it's not exactly a return to prime form. This is not the peak FaZe we'd hoped to see. I think for me, a more interesting sort of winner to discuss, despite also not making playoffs, is G2. Because G2 come into this, I mean, Maui had them discounted. No way they're winning that game against Furia opening matchup. They do 2-0, and we get a really strong MOUZ MD, especially. They end up making it through the lower bracket to that final rematch with Furia, where they do fall down and they do get picked apart, basically, by Molodor in that Inferno. If you watched, like, it was a competitive match, but Molodor ends up just being the difference maker. They had chances to really make this happen. And considering this is their first event together, the roles are still a bit iffy. It's a new coach, new IGL. Like, it's not one of those changes where you're keeping the IGL, keeping the coach, keeping a star player, keeping an AWPer, and then bringing in 2 role players. No, we're talking almost wholesale changes across the board. Even the players who stayed are changing roles. Like, it's a vastly different G2, and the fact that they still managed to make it to what is essentially 7th, 8th. Like, at every other event, this team is a playoff team. At this silly little 6-team playoff, we don't have time for a full quarterfinal bracket event. Sure, they don't make playoffs, but at every other event, look, you're in groups, you won 2 best of 3s. You probably you're a playoff team. Like, aside from a Swiss stage where you need a third, but in that case, they'd still be alive and fighting post that second loss. They are a team who I think should take a lot of things out of this event that are mostly positive. Like, they're not a team who got sent straight home. They're not a team who, only fluked a win against a relatively, like, new roster with 3 roster moves. No. They handily beat Furia in their opening game. They came in with an idea, like a vision of how they'd beat them, and then went and thumped them. Like, that was a huge victory to open up with. Obviously, dispatching a 3D Max felt like a given, but 3D Max being in that game did not feel like a given. It felt quite surprising that they managed to make it past Game Elysian. So I want to give G2 the full credit for this debut. I think it's going to get tougher. When I picked this team on the double swing, I was like, this is going to be the best time to pick them until they've had those sort of 3 months to embed and get their system together. This is the loosey-goosey, let's go out and bang sort of event. But it worked, and they managed to do it, and they've proved, like, the concept. They have firepower again.
The only issue that I have with giving them quote-unquote full credit is that Surpassed really bottomed out. Like, it's not just that he wasn't at full strength. We have players here who, you could say that for, but he is, like, down there with Kerrigan, and he's down there with Liquid, and he's down there with Astralis, and the heroic players who bombed straight out. He is roughly on that level rating wise, and he had a decent showing on 3D Max. Like, in the 3D Max game, it was very much like a team showing in terms of the individual performance. But it's the way that he really, especially as an AWPer, the way he really bottomed out in every other game, where you're beating Furia, and he's still a 0.85. And you're losing to Vitality, and, well, yeah, MOUZ is also down there with you, but, like, you have Hunter and Mattis at a slightly higher level, and you have Heavy God actually still putting up a pretty good rating. And then you go into that Furia game as well. Even there, like, it's just such like, he's on 17 frags when his closest teammate is on 24, and that's Hunter. So it's like the fact that we didn't get to see more out of someone who I think is a pretty consistent AWPer. I know it's a first showing, it's probably uncomfortable, but he's like, I do feel like he should have been able to scrape by with a half decent rating anyways. And I'm not saying, like, he should have dropped a 110, but I'm saying, like, I didn't see much to be happy about when it comes to Surpassed. But then again, like, I can't say much about watching him, and it's very early days. It's not like I'm counting it out, but I can't really say that it was all positive for G2, because I looked at that quite unfavorably. He's one of the guys that I really wanted to step up.
Yeah, I think that's an unrealistic expectation. Surpassed is not a free balling, free wheeling, this is loose, I'm going to go hit some flicks type of AWPer. And he hasn't been for, well, ever, really. He wasn't ever that kind of AWPer. He was a very strict, systematic, device mold AWPer, who in this team, the focus of the roster is getting these aggressive riflers out there and running. Like, it's about putting them into proverbial space and getting them 1v1 with people. This was not the event to expect strong things out of Surpassed, and I think to the team it still doesn't matter to them. Like, Surpassed had a rough showing in his debut. So what? We were worried about the riflers. We're worried about the new guys, the young guys. We're worried about, could Hunter get something out of this team, get wins against tier 1 teams whilst IGLing for the first time officially? Like, sure, he's had some CT side calling, and actually people have been rather negative about that. Can he prove something there? Those were the key narratives for them, not some Pius who's not had a great season, plus isn't a loose, freestyling AWPer. Can he show up on the first event? I think that's going to come as the system comes into place. As we get structured, we can expect more out of some Pius.
Yeah.
When we're playing
I don't
Pug
yeah.
CS for shits and gigs, he should suck.
When we're playing Pug CS for shits and gigs, that's when I still feel like he should be the guy, you know, picking up the saves. He should be the guys picking up the exits. He should be the guys, you know, getting that base level, just raising his floor a little bit. But we didn't get that. It's like his worst map of the year was at this event, just outright. There's a couple of more here from this event who rank in the bottom 10. And yeah, he had similar issues at times in Heroic, especially early on. He would also bottom out quite a bit like this. So I'm not necessarily saying it reflects very poorly on his season as a whole, but especially when you are playing this sort of, you don't have this much structure, you don't have that much play in place just yet. You play your own game, and that's also a bit more worrying. Like, doesn't Pius not have an own game? Like, where it's that felt a bit weak to me. It felt like we're back to square one, where like early on in Heroic, it was maybe a similar story, and I would chalk it up to he's coming off the back of Falcons. He's coming off the back of a really rough period in Falcons. He himself said that he's not having fun. It's not like it's really affecting him the way he's playing, and he just couldn't perform in that environment. And he was coming off the back of that, and it's an adjustment period, and that's sort of what I chalked it up to then. At this point, he still had a season, and yeah, it's been up and down, but he, towards the end of the season, he managed to repair this in Heroic. But we're sort of back to square one, and that doesn't feel great to me, for me. But I wasn't expecting him to come in and be the top player for G2 by any means, and I don't think he could have, to be honest. But it does feel bad when you're dropping single-digit frags in several of the maps you play on in this event.
Yeah, no doubt. And wait, I'm not one of those people who has time and space for this whole support AWP idea. Like, I've never been a big fan of that. Even if you can say he plays within the structure, and the structure of this team is currently almost non-existent, but the little he is going to be doing is setting up these riflers. I still don't have a lot of patience for weak AWP performances. I just think this is, as far as what G2 wanted to achieve, a great first showing. And so I definitely have them as one of my winners. A lot of the other teams we're probably going to get to are going to be discussed in our sort of playoff roundup, except I'm not sure. The Mongols are a bit of a weird one. I think we're going to talk about them a lot in terms of the game they lost, but not so much in terms of what they actually did well in the groups. I feel like touching them here, where, you know, obviously they come out, they play 3D Max, they take care of business, something not everyone can say they did against 3D Max, but they do. And then they pretty handily beat Falcons. I mean, going into that series, we are coming off of seeing Falcons take care of Gamer Legion. Kyosuke's playing decently, but most importantly, NiKo and m0NESY are rolling. And then just to watch that series where, sure, Kyosuke is able to get his doubles, get things done, but the playmaking from Senzu, Blitz coming up clutch time and time again, 9-10 having a really strong showing, I think that was a great start for Mongols, and that was a great way to show things. So it's a bit weird here, because we're going to go to the decider match where they're going to get crushed by Vitality, then in playoffs they lose. But I still feel that this is the only place we can actually talk about them directly. Like, what did you make of the matches they played?
I had to look at a work thing. What did you say? Which team? Sorry.
The Mongols.
The Mongols. I didn't. Yeah. Okay. I don't know. The quote that I saw from, I think it was Alexi B, was that they're not playing as a team at the moment, and I could kind of feel that in a weird way.
This is Alexi B talking about the Mongols.
Yes, prior to the game. Maybe it was Makazze even, but somebody on NAVI said that Mongols don't really feel like they're playing as a team at the moment, but NAVI are, and therefore we can beat them. That was sort of the storyline. And I could kind of see that. Like, I don't know why exactly, and I don't think it's as bad as like Liquid, because Twist said the same thing about them. But it's it might be play into it that like a tactical team can sort of pick them apart. in a way which Mongols don't really have a defense for. So I think maybe that's why. I had a hard time keeping up with these early playoff games because of going to concerts.
Yeah,
But-
I'm still referring to the group stages here. That's what I was saying. Is like the entire point of why we bring them up now is because it's going to be kind of hard to talk about them in the playoffs.
Yeah,
they played one match and lost 2-0.
Yeah, I'm really sorry. I had to look at the work chat. There's Vitality loss. It's expected. I still don't think they're going to beat them after the major final and whatever. And even with Vitality being a bit weaker in this group stage, they were still pretty comfortable, especially going into that game. Felt expected. Falcons win is... It's, again, you sort of have to give it to them. Mongols were the stronger side, and they were always going to win that. And they make pretty handy work at 3 max. So for those games, I feel like they did it pretty well. But it didn't feel me... Maybe some people would have expected Mongols to step up and become a proper top 3 contender into the season. And I think we talked about it last week somewhat with regard to like the level where we're at right now, where teams are moving around and Mongols did step into that range.
The conversation we've had is essentially we have a top 4. We had 2 teams. We had the rest of the seating. That was where we were. Mongols feel like they were separating themselves into 5th and maybe reaching the pack. But it wasn't like they are definitively one of our elite contenders. We expect to see at every top 4. Like that was what we'd hoped they would become. And that was obviously the dream, the wet dream of every Asian CS fan was, Mongols is now legitimately expected to be top 4 at every event. But that's not really what's happened. That's not exactly how we've come to expect. Like, it's not where we're at.
Yeah, and that's also that doesn't fill me with a lot of confidence when you play your second best of 3, you play your first best of 3 against Vitality after the major final where you were competitive, and you lose 13-5 and 13-8, especially in an event where just a game, like first of all, that's a seeding game. It's more valuable for Mongols than it is for Vitality, and just in general, Vitality should be more confident they're able to slog through a quarterfinal as well. And for Mongols, it's really valuable to get that skip. So if there is an element, like competitors always give 100%, but if there is an element of somebody's taking that game more seriously than others, then Mongols are the ones who are taking it very seriously. And also, this is the same event where Vitality eventually get dethroned. It's the same event where zywoo, in the grand scheme of things, underperforms. I think he plays well below his own bar, and that's like. And if you can exploit that, zywoo actually has his best game against Mongols. You've taken a step backwards at that point. When you're doing better in a major grand final than you are in a group stage seeding game against the same opponent who are now weakened, that feels like a step backwards. So for that, I do feel like whatever's gone on in the off season, maybe it hasn't been progressive. And so far, at least, I'm not really seeing them moving forward so much as I am seeing them staying still. Especially, like, we're gonna move on to the playoffs as well. But just to mention it, that NAVI loss as well also paints a pretty grim picture in that sense, because NAVI, I'm not sure NAVI got that much better with just Makazze coming in, where I would consider them to be a top 5 side, but they beat Mongols pretty handily in a playoff game, which has been their struggle all year long. NAVI have struggled to win those playoff games previously this year. So for that, Mongols I'm not feeling too good about, to be honest, going forward. But they're gonna have to do something more, I think, in the upcoming couple of events for me to really feel good about where we have them at the moment.
So I'm not gonna cry about the fact that zywoo chose to have one good series and it was against the Mongols at this event. Because as much as zywoo claims, I tried everything in every series, realistically, there's one series where he hits shots, and that was against Mongols. And I'm not going to be like, why didn't you counter them? Why didn't you counter him this time? Like, I feel that's a bit silly. But I think the real problem is going to be the playoff loss. I think the wins in the groups, they were what we'd expected to see, what we'd hoped we'd see out of Mongols, like in terms of their level. Like, they should be beating this Falcons. The fact that we see a Falcons with a just bottom-out performance from NiKo and MOUZ is completely unexpected. But we'll get to them when we talk about group stage losers. And I think for them it was fine to lose that seeding match to Vitality as long as the playoff games went okay. Yeah, we'll get to that. It did not. It really did not. But unless you've got another secret hidden winner here, like maybe you want to give some kudos to 3D Max, but...
No, I would just mention NAVI and Mongols have actually played each other a fair bit, and they've mostly played each other in qualification games into playoffs more than they have played each other in playoffs, especially arena playoffs. The last time Navi beat them in a playoff game before this was Katowice. I think that was a playoff game. No, it was an upper bracket final. Mongols beat them once, and it was a studio playoff. So, like, I do feel that this is also an element of that, like a matchup element where they haven't really had a chance to play Navi in an arena. But then you can also flip it, and Makazze hasn't had a chance to play in an arena at all, and he still played really great in that game. So, who knows? I'm ready to move on to a couple of losers. Yeah. I'm ready to move on to a couple of losers. Yeah.
Let's get to those, because look, there's many losers in these groups. Obviously, everyone who goes home is technically a loser. But we have to start with them. We have to start with this Gamer Legion, man. Like,
yeah,
what the fuck was that? Like, I get it. The opening loss to Falcons, like, oh right, we were supposed to just match up toe-to-toe with NiKo having a Prime Series, m0NESY having a Prime Series, Kyosuke deciding to actually be a legit Tier 1 star entry. Like, what were we supposed to do? It's like, okay, I'll let you write your excuses. You lost to 3D Max in what can only be described as a nightmare? Because what was going on Dust 2? Point blank, there's no great extension to that question. What the hell was that?
Yeah, it's hard to say anything for that. We recorded last week's show just before that game, and we were pretty clear that 3D Max were going to lose, describing themselves as a team who have not moved forward over the spring season whatsoever. They're
just the same thing every time. It's like, oh, will 3D Max have found new levels to certain players, new ways to use them? Will Gravity be consistent? Will, all these questions.
They are just...
No, they're just 3D Max. They're like a weird gamble, and if certain things work out, they'll be great. But at the end of the day, it's like this great confidence in their IGL. They're willing to do everything he says. But if the IGL's not winning clutches, and Gravity's not hitting ridiculous 110-degree flicks, and Lucky isn't somehow trade killing everyone, this team isn't going to win a lot of series. And yet, you come out here with, honestly, a more consistent sort of win condition, better players, everything you need to go and win the series, and you struggle to close it out and end up losing in triple OT on Dust 2. Like, just reeks of...
It's grim.
It reeks of just mental collapse, really.
Yeah, and I think Gamer Legion do have a lot of mental ghosts. I think we've seen that several times, because it is not just playoffs, because that's happened several times at this point. It even happened in Fisher. I think it's what they said when they were in Fisher. Like, yeah, something happens when we go into playoffs, and that's, something goes wrong. It's not just that, the major qualifier as well, as much as it is a bit of a bullshit format, of course. Famously, yeah, but Gamer Legion should still, let's not kid ourselves that Gamer Legion should make it out of that. And a part of that is their own doing. And a part of that, I think, also they said, was pressure. They let the pressure get into their head. And I wonder if it's like, if I can imagine that gets better when you're putting Kersey in this team. And I don't mean to pin it on him. It's not his fault. It's more so that you're adding yet more inexperience to a team which probably already needs quite a bit of experience to because all the players affect each other. And maybe I think that's an element of it, and that's going to come with time. MOUZ had exactly the same thing, and they were playing in this very same grand final at this very same event. It's with time this is going to come, especially if your players are good, and I still believe Gamer Legion have good players. But you shouldn't lose to 3D Max. You shouldn't. Like, I'll give it to them that this is maybe a closer game than it's made out to be. It's a game that I think they've played a lot of times, and Gamer Legion still handed to them pretty handily, but there have been some close maps, and they stay close in the rankings, always. They always stay close in, like, they're both eternally 15 to 10 ranked teams in the world. Gamer Legion occasionally peaking above. But that's like, yeah, you should, every day of the week you should win this game. And I don't know what's going on with that final map. And that especially, I can't pin on Kersey himself, especially, because he plays really well in that.
We really want to blame Kersey for stuff, but Dust 2, he plays a good game. Like, everyone wants to be like, we knew it. we didn't like this signing and he's the problem. But then we watched map 3 like, yo, what the fuck is PR and Res? Like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yes. But like narratively, you look at it. If you were explaining this to somebody, oh, here's Gamer Legion. They have a really young team with an average age of what, 22.3. Like several other one of the play. Their star player is a 17-year-old. You explain this to them, and who they're adding is somebody who's never, like, barely ever played against a top 30 team in his whole career, and wasn't even that much better than the player you're replacing. Like narratively, you're saying that, and then you see them bomb out of Cologne. You jump to thinking that it's Kirsty's fault without even watching the game, but then when you look at it, it's then it looks weird. So I don't know. I think maybe they've just been a bit rattled by.
I mean, honestly, maybe they were just rattled by the way Map 2 ended, because Map 2 Inferno is their pick. Yeah. They're one of the better teams on Inferno this year. Like, they're really strong at it. They play a really great way. PR thrives, and then they lose it off the back of this ridiculous Maka clutch that they throw away, and maybe their mental just isn't there for the rest of those sort of big closeout rounds in Dust 2. Maybe that's a part of the problem. But again, we're coming back to non-Counter-Strike things. We're realistically talking about like just your inability to mentally get your head around it and solve your problems and put yourself in winning situations again. Dust 2, you get luckied. That's not a thing. It stupidly is, because the number of maps he has, like a 1.3 rating and like 50 million trade kills, and you're like, how does it keep happening? Because aesthetically, it's the ugliest CS, like, mechanics-wise you've ever watched. But here we are, just disappointing.
Yeah. Lucky is not that good of a player. He is also very average. Calling back to the pre-show, he's good, but he is nothing special. He shouldn't get lucky.
He's a worst version of Sontix, as in the decisions are right and the positions often like correct. Like, he's in the right place over a player's shoulder, this sort of thing. But you watch the way he aims and shoots, it's like, if you didn't have all these advantages, you'd lose every gunfight. Like, in terms of actual heads-up gunfights, I put my money on you to lose them every time. And yet, he just accumulates all these frags just through right place, right time type stuff.
He just studied the textbook, but he didn't do the practice. That's the thing. Like, he doesn't have the skills to do it, but he knows what to do.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, it's that's no. Yeah, Gamer Legion is definitely a loser. I'd like to move on to maybe the big bird of prey in the room, which is Falcons.
Yes, Falcons.
Because they are also a big loser, yeah.
Huge losers. I mean, the Furia loss, on a surface level, it's kind of like Furia have been on the way up. They've played consistently with this roster since they made the signing, and they've played very well. And we've given full lot of credit for transitioning to the IGL rifle position and actually doing a decent job of it. Like, he's been a better rated rifler than a lot of players in the scene over the last season, which is mind-blowing, considering he couldn't even put up those numbers when he had the AWP in his hands. But now with a rifle, it's working. Whatever. But most importantly, Yekindar has been really strong. I think Ash has an entire video now about how underrated Yekindar's been and how strong he's actually performed on this Furia side. But quite importantly, Molodoy has slowly become just the star player of this team. Like, he's, despite being on a team with Keserato, with Yekindar, he will take over maps. Like, it's not like he has to take over entire series all the time. We've seen him have some slower, more quiet, save-heavy maps, I guess. But we've also seen him just absolutely dominate teams. Quite importantly, like he did against G2. But the Falcon series, yeah, he's not that special. He's fine. He has a really strong Dust 2 to close things out. But overall, it's Keserato and a absolutely nowhere to be seen NiKo. Those are the two key parts of that series. And if you're Falcons, you expected maybe Kyosuke to have some struggles. He's new to this level. He's only played like a few LANs that are not trivial, but like they're purely Russian-speaking teams, relatively small. He's beating Arc Red in a best of 5. It's not exactly the same caliber. Maybe he gets that. He gets that excuse. He comes in, he's dropping like 1.5s here. Like, he's going absolutely ballistic. He's living up to every comparison. Like, the Donk comp is real. When you compare their first sort of LANs, real LANs with actual tier 1 teams, the numbers are near identical. Like, he's not far off the mark. It's not a ridiculous comparison. He hasn't fallen short of those lofty sort of goals. Problem is the rest of the team. And especially, there's some complaints you can have about Kixan and Tessus as well, but NiKo is supposed to be your reliable star rifle. Like, he's supposed to be able to, even if he's not getting all his spots anymore, like certain opening fights, you're still setting up this Kyosuke, this new player. Well, there's no excuse for NiKo to be trash. There's no world where he's supposed to be garbage. He's played Tier 1 CS for as long as anyone at this event, pretty much. He should be still able to, no matter what the situation is exactly, what role exactly he's playing on the team, be average. Yet he fell way short of that.
It's super weird because on Dust 2, all right, they open up a 7-5 lead off of Kyosuke's 20-5. It's the best half anybody has in the whole series. 254 rated. And NiKo and MOUZ drop a combined 3 frags and they win 0 T-side rounds on Dust 2. Kyosuke gets 2 as well. Like, he's not particularly good either there, but like, Jesus. Sorry, Molodoy had a better rated half in that.
Molodoy's CT half on Dust 2 was an absolute banger. They go 8 zip, he's 13-1, I think it is. Like, he has a fantastic defensive half, but quite importantly, how do you fall flat with this sort of core? Like, this, especially on Dust 2. Like, you've got to find something better.
I feel like you had the 7-5 lead. You lose, let's say you lose the first 5, all right? You get to 7-10 and you're like, all right, we need to do something. That's when you just, fuck it. Now it's FPL. And like, that's when you rely on your supposed talent. Not supposed talent. Everybody here is talented. I'm not gonna, but yeah, it's no. It's very weird. And yeah, in a very visceral sense, NiKo was the problem in this game. Outright, which is weird to say.
It's not like he's moved into some crazy, like, sort of hard entry support rifle role. If you look at his profile, he's getting his frags whilst trading. Like, he's being set up in certain ways, and he has advantages he could be making use of. Like, it's not one of those classic, you know, you've gone from star to bitch support, and now your numbers drop off, and we've got an excuse ready for you. Sure, he's maybe a little uncomfortable with the exact positions, but they're still plenty viable. And that doesn't even touch on, honestly, I still think MOUZ deserves a lot of shit for his performance across this. It's
coming up to a couple of events where you could really point a lot of fingers to MOUZ in terms of not just where he should be, because you compare him to Simple, you compare him to zywoo, you even compare him to Shiro, and that's, you know, where he should be. It's more so where he needs to be, because he's not doing that a lot of the time. And that it's coming up to a couple of events, maybe not in a row, but this year where he looks worse off than he has done in the past. So it's very weird. It's very strange. I have to give, like, we're on the losers now, but just on this game in particular as well, I feel like Kiserato deserves some credit quite a bit, because he's quite a bit of a jack of all trades here, especially on Mirage. He's got a couple of key rounds where he has both really good entrying, but also like a couple of key late round closing out with clutch and stuff, and that's a really good level out of Kiserato. And I feel like a lot of time, sometimes in these games he disappears, and for that, but here he manages to keep it up, and that's
they needed him.
That's good to see. Yeah,
map 2 and 3, you needed a strong Kiserato. They got it. Interesting to see his evolution as a player. Now finally playing on a team where you think, like, in the past I've had questions about, you know, Art's play style and his calling style, how it can be effective with an AWPer in play. Like, can you get an AWPer involved? Can you win big series? Right now I'm feeling like this is probably the best situation he's been in a while, where they have a hard entry who's not just a brain-dead IGL just throwing himself into anything and then trying to call off the back of it, famously. He has an AWPer who is a genuine star, not just Old Man Fallen, or post Henny, you know, Furia struggled to get an AWPer in who'd actually be effective. Like an AWPer who's comfortable in the system, able to thrive at the top level. Yuri, if Yuri is your fourth best player rather, not rifler, you're happy as a team. You're just genuinely happy. Like, he's not supposed to be a number 1 carry anymore, but if he's in that position, you're happy. So I think this is one of the best chances Kiserato has to really top out. We haven't seen him reach that sort of level, and we'll talk about some of these playoff series soon, because, well, that playoff series with MOUZ was a banger. But if he can bring his level up, like in terms of those big series, be classic vintage top sort of top 10, maybe actually top like 5 rifler in the world level Keserato. It's getting harder and harder to do that with the emergence of these Russian fucking machines. But if he can sort of bring that level back, Furia are not just a top 10 team. Like they'll overtake Aurora before the end of not this sentence, but probably this month. Like given the way they've been playing, like each one of those teams has been performing. That's not insane to believe. So I'm really liking what I'm seeing, and from him, good group stage. We do need a little more in playoffs. We'll get to that. But this is a brilliant situation for him, and maybe the best of his career.
It's getting. I mean, yeah, that's probably true. It's getting harder for him to put in these performances more and more. I think we are in like a post-peak period of Keserato, or perhaps more of a second peak, because he definitely has been trailing off since around 2022. Probably maybe even peaked online, but like especially like there's been a downtrend for the past couple of years, and he's 25. He's already had a decently long career, and we've seen better Keserato just in worse teams, but
unfortunately, just always wasted. That's the Brazilian way, isn't it? Just we're gonna have this all-time talent, and we're gonna stuff him in the worst situation possible, and then we could build a super team. We could build this great roster, but I mean, only Fallen and Cold Zero together are allowed to win majors, and only in 2016. So no, we're not allowed to make those roster moves. We're just going to stick ourselves in these uncompromising yet ineffective sort of groups, and just endlessly fall out like of the of top contention. Just every now and then one will peek their head in and be like, caralho, and just fall back down again. It's just not been. It's just not been consistent. So hopefully this is the roster for him. Maybe we'll see him. Not necessarily. We don't want him to win a major necessarily. Like it's cool. I'm not rooting against it. I'm just saying maybe reach a peak. Maybe win some big real LAN trophies. That'll be great to see.
Yeah.
With that in mind,
I'll be honest.
We should move to the playoffs at some point.
We should move on. I don't think we have another. I don't think we have another loser. The only one I could think of is Liquid, and we are going to talk about Liquid later, I think. So
yeah, Liquid will come up again. Don't worry, guys.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people want us to shit on Liquid. We will. Don't worry.
The thing, like, they were losers this week, and it wasn't even because of Cologne. Like,
they were losers in so many ways this week.
They finished last in Cologne, and it wasn't even the worst day of their week. That's the thing. So
that's impressive. That's impressive to go straight last and then still do something worse is insane. But let's talk about these playoffs. First quarterfinal we're going to touch on is the NAVI quarterfinal, where Makazze makes semis. For me, that is the most important part of that conversation. One of my more recent prospect promotions after Molodoi made his way into Furia. Seeing him actually get the call up for NAVI, we were dubious about if NAVI could actually make that sort of move. Like if they would try it, if they would bring one Academy kid up, 2 Academy kids up, how much they would change the play style. And to be honest, it has looked a bit almost uncanny valley to watch NAVI try to play Makazze's way, because Makazze is a brute force, high volume openings player. He's not, let the IGL take some attention top mid whilst I sneak out of underpass and try to clip someone off, Imma style. He's not, the role player who sits in apps quite comfortably. And even though he did do a bit of that on Mirage, I'm using Mirage as the reference point because that's how much we've seen so much Navi on Mirage. He's not like naturally going to be that JL type, hold an extremity, then hard entry, and then kind of not do much else. I mean, Mirage was one map where I think they struggled to use him properly on T-side of locks. They did do that. But on other maps, they were happy to send him flying out through smokes with 3 flashbangs and a prayer. Like, they were happy to use him in that space-taking role that he did so well on the Academy. And look, I called him the Kosovar monster. For me, this was, as I tweeted, the perfect place to see if he had the teeth to continue being a monster. At this level, can he replicate it? And he had some consistency woes. He had some up maps, some down maps, but overall, cheeks were clapped. He was absolutely stunning. Like, I loved what I saw from Makazze, especially in those big playoff games. That match against the Mongols, he's not the highest rate player. He's tied with Bit, but it's hard to deny that he was anything beyond, like anything other than like surpassing expectations. When you talk about an Academy kid promoted playing his first ever big stage, I don't mean LAN, big stage game, and he's playing a team of the caliber and of the aim quality of Mongols, and he comes out and he still delivers 50 something kills, pretty like a insane recovery really on Inferno. If you remember that Inferno game, it starts horrifically. Like I watched the POV, he's just running through smokes and dying over and over again. The flashbang's not quite good enough. The timing not quite good enough. Everything was kind of not working. Then when he gets to that CT half and he starts double killing every time they touch his site, touch his banana, he's just coming alive. And thanks to his recovery, they're able to bring that map to overtime and win it. Then he just dominates on Ancient. His iconic map from his academy days. He goes out and smacks the living piss out of a legit top sort of 5 to 7, whatever you want to call them, team in the world. Magnificent. Yeah. Magnificent. Hail Mary. It was so much fun to watch. Man, Makazze made semis. I was giddy. I don't know about you. I don't know how much of a Makazze fan you are, but that was a sensational series for me as a viewer.
I think it's a very good achievement. Something which impresses me is that it is his playoff performance in particular, because he's not too hot in group stages, or in the group stage rather. He wasn't doing all that good. Down. Yeah. So it's very solid even against Spirit. I mean, it's a 1.0 blank. I'd say 1.03. Really solid. Like Imma's nowhere in that game, and like he's the second best behind Bit. That's a really solid level for an academy kid playing Cologne for the first time. Like I get the comparison you can make with him, I think, is Zwei, and yeah, Zwei won the event. Zwei won that game. Makazze outperformed him, like outright. So that's really solid. Really good for him. Really solid. And I can't really say much more than that. I like that, and I like where that's headed. I like where that might be going for the future. I had some doubts about this roster move. I had some doubts about replacing JL in particular. I had some doubts about how many players should you replace. Like I could have seen, I talked about on the show, I could have seen them making any number of moves. You could probably justify anybody exiting NAVI, and no, not really any of the academy kids, but several of the academy kids making it into the main team. Multiple, even you could justify it. Like there were arguments to be made, but I think they've made the right move, and I think I'm happy with the way this is going so far. And there are like we had a couple of other sort of debutant rosters at this level, with which had made 1 or 2 roster changes, and this was the one which made it the furthest. Yeah, they made it straight to the stage, but they also made it into semis, and that's very good.
Yeah, I think the big part you have to talk about for NAVI is it feels like we've got how to explain this? We got something in the group stages we weren't expecting to get, and it was immediately taken from us in the playoffs, that we didn't continue to see Imma thriving. And I think if you watch the POV on his like Dirty 30 Mirage from groups, the map that, you know, made me tweet and got some Romanians proper pissed off. Of course, they are stands till they die, you know. It just felt like that when you watch that demo, you're like, okay, he wasn't out here tearing everyone's head off just on raw aim duels. It was a lot of right place, right time, and that's something Imma has historically done well when he's had good ratings, is, you know, he's been in the right positions. But it doesn't feel like that's ultimately going to be in the long run their win con. Their win cons are going to be, can we get more of this Makazze? They're going to be, can we get more of like a sort of strong and confident looking Wonderful? Because we got a bit of that. And then quite importantly on the back end, when they win that series against the Mongols, can we get that level of Bit? Now I get it. Bit was realistically a Don mostly on that first map. On that Inferno, he was really strong. Ancient, he was fine. But there's something about it that makes me believe. Every time I watch a Bit pop off, and I see the beauty of his mechanics, the way his crosshair moves, the way his bursts seem to be for the first like 6 shots straight to the head. Like, very few players are able to control bursts and short sprays as precisely as Bit. I just think there has to be a superstar waiting to emerge from this guy. And it frustrates me that we only see it in flashes. But for that, just for that reason alone, I feel like NAVI are still going to be a threat. And they're still going to manage to find a way to return to the top over the course of not necessarily this season, because this season feels a bit too loaded, but with this group of relatively still young stars, Bit, Makazze, Wonderful. Unfortunately, I think they're still going to be around. They're still going to be ever present. And they're probably going to make a comeback. I'm just not sure it's going to be this year.
I mean, I got my wish. I said before the major, which team did I want to exit? I wanted NAVI to exit early, and they did, because I wanted them to make a change, and they made a change, and it looks positive. So I'm happy. This looks good. If it keeps looking good, I'll be even more happy, because I do like these players. I like JL as well, but I'm happy with this team if they keep performing, and I want Wonderful to do better. I've been slamming him quite a bit.
He was an
especially
aggressively
last year.
himbo guy. Like he was amusing.
But last year I slammed him quite a bit. But it's like I want him to be better. I want him to do good. But yeah, and he did good here. I'll emphasize that as well. He also did very solid here. It's not a zywoo performance, but he's solid in both group stage and in playoffs, and that's what you need to see out of your upper. Very good. And we got a good playoff level out of Bit as well. Bit a big question mark, and
repeatedly a question mark, yeah.
Yeah, and as I apparently said, he was leaving for Falcons.
Yes, you did. You did indeed.
Apparently, I said that.
Yeah, totally reported it on this show as well, where we break this sort of revolutionary, completely nonsensical news that we never actually did break.
What the things you hear on this show, I can tell you definitely heard it here first.
Yeah, because apparently we're just making things up according to Russian Telegram.
It's the only place you're gonna hear it. So
yeah. But let's move on. We have, we've kind of touched on this team a fair bit. But I think we have to talk about not just them, but also the game overall. Furia, close but no cigar. That's the best way to talk about it. Like, they are that close. We're talking as close as my fingers can be to actually making a semi-final just to lose to Vitality. I thought that was a pretty incredible game. Like, the train map they lose in overtime, barn burner. Absolute barn burner. I mean, these two OTs as well, and we're talking like the rounds, the key rounds, right? At the death, Torji winning a 1v2. Like, this was a thrilling opening map. Just to go into what should have been for them a pretty hard map to win, because they lose their own pick in OT. Usually, map 2 is going to be difficult. They recover, they win, they get us to Inferno, and at this point, I'm just wondering how much they've got left in the tank. And they give us another 24 mapper. Full credit to this team. Like, a combination of still veteran nous from these guys who've been together for quite a while, but also not at a very high level. But between them, they've played at a high level for an extended period of time. The new boy in Molodoi showing that he is definitely worthy of the hype, worthy of this level. He's not just here because his numbers were nice. In terms of tier 3 play, there was clearly something about him that screamed tier 1 potential, and he delivered right there. This is obviously an insane performance from MOUZ, an incredibly MOUZ-like performance to go and win super close, win the clutches, lose a map more convincingly than they won any map, keeping their round win percentage low. It's pure MOUZ at this point, but it's always fun to watch. Even when I'm rooting against MOUZ, like, I kind of wanted Furia to win just because of Molodoi. My lord, did they make it entertaining and drag it just over the line. Incredible series.
Yeah. It's hard to imagine that this team would have worked out, because I think all of us wrote it off when we knew this roster change was happening with Molodoi and them. But yeah,
we had our doubts. Obviously, because Yakindar, it was hard to envision returning to this kind of form. And then Molodoi, we thought like, he's raw, he's talented, he'll put up numbers, but it won't always necessarily be connected to the team, and it might just end up putting up just empty stats. And we're worried about the playstyle with Furia, with Fallen back on his rifle.
Yeah,
they've proven us wrong on a number of fronts. The most important one being Yekindar and Fallen. I don't think the Molodoi part was particularly shocking. If you'd watched him play, watched that wrist move, you knew that kid had talent. But the riflers, figuring it out,
yeah,
that's the part that's incredible.
Yeah, and also the fact that Molodoi fucking didn't speak English when he joined the team. Like that's like it's
Yeah, the
there were
comms
so
issue
many
was
things
also
like
almost overlooked in everything else. But you're like, how good is his English? Like a bit of a
yeah,
concern.
they talked about it, and he was like, "I'm doing lessons," and it's like they bring Kindar in probably as like a chemistry thing to make him feel more comfortable, etc., etc. Kristen is there also, but then it just worked. I didn't expect it to work. I would have expected if it was going to work, I would have expected it to come half a year later at most. But no, they hit the ground running and it's working out, and that I like. But yeah, we talked about them quite a bit. I don't think that's a great playoff series, but I'm also happy it went the way it did because I don't think Furia would have beaten Vitality, so
No.
would maybe have been a better grand final. But I like this, yeah.
Yeah, pretty impressed. But yeah, as we said, we kind of talked about them a lot, so we didn't have much more to add. But we move on to I'm not sure. Yeah, Spirit's still Navi's dad. I saved myself from putting daddy on the lower third, but it's kind of getting disrespectful. Just as soon as they play each other in a playoff, not in a group stage, Spirit just beat them. It just seems too predictable at this point, even with these changes. I just realized that I can say my thumb, like this picture that I put up, the PNG file can be said to the. I'm sorry, just Spirit Navidad. Anyway, that's what just came into my head, and I just had to make a thing.
Spirit Navidad.
I read it in the tune. But anyway, yeah, this series, whilst impressive that Navi even took that nuke and made Ancient really competitive with. It made Mirage really competitive with, Makazze going toe-to-toe with Donk, which is truly an insane sort of thing to watch. It's like, he was going toe-to-toe with Kyosuke in the academies, winning the games, having a decent head-to-head matchup, but overall the ratings were typically Kyosuke favored. To then go into his tier 1 play essentially the senior version of Kyosuke and Donk, and have the same thing happen where frag-wise, frag for frag, he's not actually had a bad match. It's just overall they lost, and overall Donk has the bigger rating. I actually want to see, he actually beat Donk 5-4 in head-to-head duels on that Mirage map. So it's a deja vu for Makazze, but it's an incredible start to the series despite the loss of that first map. They do win Nuke, and then Mirage goes all the way to the end. Ancient, rather, goes all the way to the... Sorry,
no, the other way around.
Ancient's not close. Yeah, Mirage was the close one.
Yeah.
Ancient wasn't that close in the end. But
a
fantastic start to the series.
Makazze beats him head-to-head on Mirage as well by 1-4-3, but then he gets 0-6 smoked on Ancient, and that's the difference in experience, I think.
Yeah, that's just... because he is going to be trying to challenge him around mid, isn't he? Like, that's going to be the big sort of clashing point.
Yeah.
It is the place where it's also hardest to outdo Donk. He is such a good mid player that it's in the end you're like, maybe that was a league too far in terms of the comparison, but a pretty sterling effort from Navi considering they still lost 2-1. They took a map, they lost map 1 in close fashion. Like this builds what we were talking about before in terms of they could be a pretty strong team in the future, but it also just highlighted that gap. Makazze, fantastic debut, great young player. He's not Donk, though. He's not Donk. Donk is Donk. He's one of one at this point.
Yeah. There's a thing here which Spirit mentioned, which is with Spirit being Navi's daddy. He mentioned it in the post-final interview with HLTV. He said that he emphasized that every team is very special and very unique at this point, and you really need to like learn how to play against them by playing against them, and also like prep plays a big part in that. And I think something which is like, this is only 3 maps. It's not everything. But Donk didn't actually take that many CT side openings in this game. He only took against Makazze. He only had 3 openings total in this game, and against him in the head-to-head in particular, which is like they're both very aggressive. But T side is still up there. But CT side in that game, he is like Chopper and Shiro are taking a lot of those CT side openings. He only takes 17%. Which out of 29 rounds, which is basically nothing. It's
for Donk especially, it's absolutely nothing.
Yeah. he still wins like 4 out of 5. So he's still really solid in them. But I think it sort of shows how, maybe it's just circumstance, but I do think it shows that like the level of prep they put in, and that's one of the reasons why they can pick apart Navi. And I think that's one of the reasons why they're really dangerous against like how they manage to not get upset very much at all. It's Spirit all year they've had an issue beating MOUZ. They've obviously had an issue beating Vitality. And they've been sort of 50-50 against Falcons, depending on who was playing. As soon as m0NESY came in, they had a little bit of a stumble, I think. But they don't lose anything else, which has been very solid for them, because you can't even really say that about MOUZ. So I think one of the reasons why that is because they have such extensive prep. They know exactly how to play against these opponents. And it's just the fact that for most of the year, they couldn't figure out MOUZ. They couldn't figure out Vitality. And now they managed to. And just the fact that Donk shifts so much in the opening attempts he takes on CT side relative to how he played for the rest of the event, he has 30%. But in those 3 maps, he only takes 17. I think that's a sign where like that's one of the things where they adjust. For whatever reason, they feel like that's better. I'm not tactical enough to say that, but that's like a pattern. And I think we probably see the same thing in a lot of these games, which is something I'm definitely going to look up now.
Yeah, no, the thing Spirit often get credit for, and it's why a lot of people simply refuse to give Chopper any credit. Even when it goes well, they want to give all the credit to Halley. It's because we know they do a lot of great prep. I mean, even going as far back as pre this sort of era rosters, they'd have great prep. They still have to execute, they still have to make the mid-rounds correct, but a lot of the time it does feel like they come into the game with the correct game plan. And maybe that's part of the reason why they struggle so much with Vitality, is because Vitality can go off-plan very quickly. And very often. We've seen it with their very varied setups, the ambiguity as to whether or not they're actually going to have an AWP at any given moment. There's a lot of things about Vitality that make them hard to read. And I think you can maybe draw that sort of parallel a lot of the times between the teams Spirit struggle to beat, is that they actually have a pretty varied, diverse sort of style and strat book, and some things can be done a lot off the cuff, especially when you think about, like, let's say MOUZ, for example. Like, if Xerxan sees something, feels something, he's definitely going to be able to call it. No offense to Brolan, but he's not that experienced, veteran, authoritative figure as a caller. He does have a lot of space for those guys to improvise. Torji on the CT side, deciding on his picks, deciding on different little ideas. It's going to be harder to prep for those teams. Add to that their quality mid-rounding that Brolan does bring in, and you're like, yeah, that's pretty dope. I don't think Spirit are necessarily any different now. Like, despite the win in the grand final, they're still going to be a team who are heavily prep dependent and might struggle, I think, with Vitality. It might be a matchup sort of season where, depending on who faces who when, it'll dictate who wins all the events. But this is their ability to beat NAVI is a clear showing that NAVI are very strict in their approach in terms of how they decide to structure everything. And whilst it can be super effective, Spirit are pretty happy with the ways they found to counter it. Yeah.
We'll talk more about Spirit in a minute as well. I think we should move on. This show is very long.
Let's talk about the event, the match of the event.
Yeah.
MOUZ have cracked Vitality. That impervious, just invincible veneer finally has a dent in it. As much as we saw them lose to Legacy, we all dismissed it immediately. No one took that loss seriously. No one at all. We just shifted from matches unbeaten to series unbeaten, just because we know the major BO1s in Swiss are a clown show, shouldn't exist. Valve, wake the fuck up. That's something we'd ignored already. We knew that in terms of series they were unbeatable, and then MOUZ just came along and, well, cracked it. They broke them down.
Yeah.
They managed to figure it out. And look, the Mirage game went kind of the way I expected it to, in terms of MOUZ pick it. The things MOUZ need to do well is going to be Torsion, the duo, Torsion. Xerxan and Torshi combining to, find openings, have big impact multis, like, shut rounds down, open rounds up, do that sort of thing incredibly well. It does help that they get, over the course of the event, a pretty strong Brolan. Like, this wasn't his standout event. This wasn't his standout series, rather. He was even better, I think, at times versus Spirit. But This series especially, it does help to have Brolan finding little openings, finding little mid-round multis, little positional advantages, on top of your AWP and your opener rocking the show. Like, they were absolutely fantastic on that Mirage game. Now, Train was a bit weird, I'm going to be honest, but they managed to get it done off some really strong calling and a couple strong lurks. But that Mirage game, I think, was the blueprint.
You get a strong Spinks there as well, which I think helps. Always
it
helps.
Really does, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. Brolan was really solid throughout the event. I think the final is a standout series, even if his overall rating ends up being lower there. But I think that is the standout series where, like, he was putting in a very solid level all 3 maps. Except for the final one.
Yeah, high impact as well. Like, Mirage and Ancient, you see, like, such impact from Brolan. Like, the multi-kills, the openers, like, he straight ripped Donk's head off a couple times. I was like, oh, fuck. There's a Brolan I haven't seen in a while. Like, that's an orange jersey Brolan. That's a yellow jersey Brolan. That's not a MOUZ Brolan, but holy fuck, yeah, we'll take it. But it wasn't. It was clearly not enough, but it was incredibly vital to the Vitality win.
Yep. And yeah, I mean, we've had struggles out of basically all of the MOUZ players in periods this year. Spinks has maybe been the most solid, but I think he still had games and events where he wasn't really himself. Jimmy, he said himself as well, he's having a rough time at the moment individually, and I think to me it's shown over the year. He still puts up a pretty solid floor level, but I do feel like something is weird with Jimmy this year. But it might just be that there's more star power on the team. Torchi, I feel like, is a bit inconsistent. Yeah. Both Sershin and Torchi, I feel like, can be a bit inconsistent, especially in playoffs, because you end up with, again, big bottoms and big peaks. But it's gotten better, and I think everything just kind of clicked in this Vitality game. So yeah, it's and look, it was going to come to an end eventually. In some component, it is also Vitality losing, like with which was going to happen eventually. Like, there was going to be a bad day for Vitality. There was going to be a bad game, a bad performance, and that's going to happen. So. But a lot of credit to MOUZ, especially for finally making it 8th time's the charm. So yeah, and I think maybe that's also part of it. They've learned how to play against them, and as you said, they can change up, but they clearly found something which works for them. Yeah,
they didn't really break the CT side apart. And that's a big thing for their Mirage Vitality, is their CT play is going to be really fun. Despite zywoo being genuinely bad, like, not just quiet, but he was just bad on that Mirage CT side. They still got 8 rounds. So the whole this Vitality side can win without zywoo thing was very much alive. Like, it was alive and kicking, so to say. Like, we had an outstanding level from Rops. I mean, remember that ridiculous eco round ace to bring them into it. Mezzy was great. Flamesy was winning some duels. Like, he was quiet in some other maps, and especially Train. But that CT side, very solid. They then switched, though. And on the defensive end is where it's the sort of place where Xerxes and Torchi really can cook you. Like, Torchi usually more so, but in this case it was a lot of Xerxes. They just got cooked. Those guys were finding every opening. They were making multi-kills happen every time. It was impossible for Vitality to crack that defense. And they won 9 of 10 rounds, did MOUZ defensively. And a lot of it comes down to those two, who were just rampant. Everything they tried worked.
Yeah, and you see the same thing in the final as well. T side is where they lose. Ancient in particular. I think also Mirage was going to be a lot closer if they didn't play a 2-10 T side. So and Brolan said as much. The T side is where they're missing. Like, that's where they need to improve their game. So yeah, but very strong CT sides in both games, I would say, and that's good to see. But there's still a lot to work with there, and fixing. I feel like there's a bunch of teams who maybe struggle with just the one half. Maybe I'm just more attentive to it at this point, or they talk about it more. But it does feel like it does feel like there's a lot of teams who have struggles on one specific side, this year in particular. But yeah, let's see how that develops.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Now, finally,
Yeah,
we did get the grand final. Obviously, a stormer, 3-0. It was, for a while, it wasn't looking like it'd be so one-sided, but once map 2 went the way it did, it was done. There's no one walked into map 3 thinking this is going to go all 5. Obviously, the Mirage from Spirit was very strong. That defense, imperious. Then we get into that Ancient match, and we sort of see the tides change. I mean, Spirit got 4-0, MOUZ bring it all the way back, 8 straight rounds. Everything they're trying works, right? Again, It's one of those sorts of halves where once they got rolling, they couldn't be stopped. And Brolan especially, we said it, he was super impactful. Like multi-kill after multi-kill, defending the B bomb site, fighting for mid. He did a lot super well. But again, side switch. Now you have to do the opposite. You have to get past Donk. Quite importantly, you have to get past Shiro and Chopper. Chopper had so many really strong rounds defensively in this series, but a lot of them came on Ancient when they desperately needed to chain them together. Lord above was Chopper good. And yeah, not expecting this. When I expected a sort of resurgent Spirit after this break, I thought maybe they're going to get a lot out of Zwei, or Zwei, whatever. Maybe we're going to get, some more Shiro. Shiro kind of just made his way through playoffs relative to groups. His playoffs were a bit weaker than his groups. All in all, it was even more from Donk, plus some standout rounds from a couple individuals every now and then. Like Shiro had a couple rounds. Chopper had these ridiculous holds. But Lord, that Ancient defense, so much of it came down to, no matter what the scenario is, no matter the position, somehow Donk got a triple. Donk got a double. Hell, Donk was in a molly, 2 people facing him. He had 1 HP left, still hit the final bullet and got a kill. Like, a lot of impossible things made possible by the young rifler. And then map 3 just felt like a wash. Just a wash.
Yeah.
Like, who expected map 3, like, that MOUZ team to recover? I couldn't. They got embarrassed on Ancient, just in terms of allowing that comeback to happen. And Nuke is just one-sided.
Yeah. They do MOUZ do almost everything, I think, that they can. But I think that's where they run out of steam at this point. That's where their level is at. And Spirit have found something, and it's not even... Did you say anything different with Zwei, if you're comparing it to Magic's? You're not a big Magic's fan.
I wanted to. And there was...
Yeah,
I can cope and see them be like, well, that shot was nice. I've seen Magic's with that. But then I also saw plenty of scenarios where, firstly, he's playing as passively and as unimpactfully as Magic's would. And then other scenarios where he's supposed to be holding extremity in the way Magic's would have. He gets a straight aim duel and just loses it. And I'm like, oh, might as well have been Magic's, to be honest.
Yeah.
So as much as I wanted to see something better out of him, I can't factually be like, yes, Zwei was definitely better at this event than I should have expected from Magic's. I can't say that. And that's disappointing.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
They still won.
It's a long
they
show.
still won.
They still won. Yeah, and I don't think Zwei was bad. I think I think it was a very good first Cologne event. Absolutely, it was a very good first Cologne event, and like I still think that Magic's, he has these issues, as you say, but you can work around it a lot of the time, and that's exactly what they did here. If like Zwei making the same mistakes, you can work around it and still win a Cologne. So for my money, I think Zwei did his job absolutely. But especially for like a first tier 1 event, especially for a first Cologne, especially for a first like proper arena. So yeah, but it's very solid all around for Spirit, with then also having Donk being Donk. And it's
it does help when you attend an event and you've got a guy dropping almost a kill round for the entire event. Ridiculous, like 27% multi-kill rate. Like, this is unparalleled dominance from Donk. No one really has ever done this. no one probably at this rate likely ever will. Like this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever witnessed. And the fact that it was enough to get them this win again, isn't that surprising? This is now the third time I've seen him win a prestige event whilst having a team of performances, but he's absolutely wrecking house.
Yeah, I know you're working on a thing, and I'm not gonna say what it is, but where would you put him now? Because we've talked about putting him above NiKo.
Yeah, that is the entire point of the title. Something some people have missed in terms of, I think some people are thinking it's currently, is he better than NiKo? That was never a question. Like for this entire...
He is, yeah.
Like, yeah, obviously currently he's better, but is he all time better? Like, is he the superior player in terms of... Because I saw you have this conversation in my Discord, and it's one of those things where...
Made a tweet out of it, and it was a hit.
I didn't even see it. I've not opened Twitter. I felt wrong. Like, and a lot of when it comes to that sort of things, when you give me a statement, I will then react to it just internally, emotionally. Does it feel correct? And I have to say, it doesn't. It doesn't feel right. But in terms of a lot of the, as I put, quantitative assessment you do of a player's career, you talk about MVPs, trophies won, exactly which ones those trophies are, especially. It's hard to make the case against him. Now, the thing that NiKo has is a seemingly never-ending run at the top, like literally never ending.
Yeah.
It's been there since like 2015 when he was a star carry, and he's just endlessly put up great numbers, dragged mediocre teams to great finishes. Like, we've seen so much from NiKo. There's such like a rich tapestry of great play. It's not just a beautiful painting that's like an A5 sheet, which is what Donk is right now. We're talking about wall art that could cover this entire room of legendary moments, clutches, big matches. It's difficult.
It is. NiKo
never won bet. Well, thank you. There we go.
Oh yeah, like Donk said, we won in the same year. We won the major and bet boom dacha. I have looked at this a lot since this grand final, and I have a really hard time picking out arguments for why NiKo would go above. Honestly, because even the longevity thing, that's just giving him credit for doing less with more time and more transfers. And
isn't that your entire
team.
Jota for Rookie of the Year argument? But worse?
I don't think he should be Rookie of the Year. I just think he was one of the 5 best nominees. That's what I thought. It's like, I struggle to find an argument because they're equal in MVPs at this point. And I've talked to you about this as well, how it's 2 very different eras of MVPs, because a lot of people will take away from Donk for having Bet Boom Dacha MVPs. But when you compare Bet Boom Dacha to some of these events that NiKo got MVPs in, it just reflects poorly on NiKo, if I'm going to be honest. Like, you could remove the Bet Boom Dacha MVPs, but then you also have to remove the Blast Pro series. And honestly, for a fair comparison, you need, even if I don't like it because it was a different era, but you also have to remove the online MVP that NiKo has, and then they're still equal. They're still on 6. And Donk at that point has 2 prestige MVPs, Katowice and Cologne. NiKo has 1, and he has a major MVP. So
yeah, and then we build into what realistically is the case, because at that point we're just talking about Donk having matched certain aspects. Now, we know he's surpassed him in terms of individual peak, in terms of that sort of level of dominance, but we've not seen 50 EVPs worth of Donk. That's kind of the other point. And we've had our own conversations, like pre-show, where we were talking about EVPs sometimes being awarded stupidly, and some MVPs even. We were having this whole discussion, we'll get into later, about other MVPs. But the duration of the dominance, the ability to do it across generations, I'm talking players have had their entire career in the time NiKo's been in the conversation for the #1 rifler. Like, coldzera came from obscurity, won 2 majors, back-to-back player of the year, and fell off into relative nothingness since NiKo started being elite.
Yep.
And he still was towards the end of this run. So I'm just like...
I'm going to address one thing, because Skilles as is in chat. Well, NiKo was not in a team that could win for many years. The thing is, he has many more trophies. He has twice as many trophies overall as Donk does. He won events in 7, like FaZe were a top 1 team winning several events in 2017, 2018. He won events in 2019. The format is weird, and in a 2025 context, that's maybe not even a big event. It's very, very strange. But he won events in 2019 with a suboptimal team. He won events in 2022. He won 2 prestige events with G2 in 2023. He won in 2024 thrice with G2. And he's also even won one with Falcons. So you can't even really say that. MOUZ is the only event team where he couldn't win events. And all of those teams are really solid. For about a third of those wins, he has m0NESY on his side, who was very solid in all of those events. For probably another third, he's got Guardian and probably one of the best IGLs of all time. Like, he also has like a very solid level, and you contrast that to Donk, who has a much criticized Sontix. Like, Sontix probably doesn't compare to any of the teammates NiKo has had, if we're like in the same position. If we're saying, like, who's the equivalent? Like, it's gonna be Rain, probably.
At best, Rain is 2017. Rain is not Zontix. Rain is not playing even vaguely comparable roles to Zontix. The players you're talking about are Kiyoshima, Olofmeister. We're not talking about great players. That's a terrible place to start for your agenda. But the point I'm because I saw the same message you did and immediately had this visceral reaction in my head of, don't take the piss. Take Donk out of this team, put in a replacement level entry, and throw every single trophy they have in the trash, because they no longer have it. They no longer have any of them. So I am not on board with the idea that there's some sort of team discrepancy to explain everything. But I am quite simply stating that until I have even like 3 years of elite rifling out of Donk, I'm not willing to all of a sudden dismiss what should have been impossible, because Donk is doing one kind of impossible, NiKo's doing a completely different one, where he has been the best or amongst the 3 best riflers in the world for about 4 times as long as anyone else has ever even managed to. That is in itself, it's not just longevity for longevity's sake, it is unthinkably impressive to do that. Most riflers who had extended periods at the top in general ended up doing a variety of different things, ended up playing on teams where they were bums, ended up playing on teams where they were good but not truly elite. Think Dupree, like, they didn't always have to be the best rifler in the world. He was. So I find it a bit ridiculous to say he's surpassed him all time, but it's not long in coming.
I don't think it is ridiculous, because the thing is, I don't think it's the longevity with itself which is impressive from NiKo. I think it's the sheer consistency. It is long, and that's part of it, but it's also very consistent at a very high level. And I think you mentioned coldzera. If you compare NiKo and coldzera probably peaks higher with the 2 majors, back-to-back player of the year. You would probably consider that a higher peak than what NiKo has had overall.
The problem is, statistically, they're near identical in those 2 years.
Yeah, but
NiKo's got the output to match him at that point. Like, he's just not winning the trophies.
But even if we hypothesize that coldzera his peak is clear above NiKo, let's just say that his peak at that point is about as long as Donk has had now. It's a little bit longer, but like and then he fell off, and it's more so the negative from coldzera which puts him behind NiKo for me than it is the NiKo's longevity itself. So for consistency's sake, Donk is...
I can't. You believe, genuinely, that coldzera's latter career drags him back down rather than the fact that NiKo was just the best rifler in the world for a decade? That doesn't get him above coldzera's 2 years of gifted awards better than NiKo, but not actual Counter-Strike better than NiKo. Are you that much of a shill for MVPs and HLTV number 1?
What I'm saying is, the argument would be, okay, so if Donk quit right now, would he be ahead of NiKo? And I would probably say yeah. But if Donk fell off and was a 1.05 for the rest of his career for another 5 years, no, NiKo would be above. Because then the longevity matters. But because that's the framing you sort of have to put with how Donk is early in his career and NiKo is towards the tail end of his career. We're approaching it. It's you have to frame it as if Donk quit now, is he ahead of NiKo all time? So that's yeah.
No.
Uh,
No, he's
no,
not.
okay. But I will. Another thing I will say also, the thing with if you take Donk out and put somebody else into Spirit, if you put NiKo into Spirit, that's also one of the things with the longevity. It's impressive, but Donk sort of reframed all of NiKo's career, because at this point you can give a lot. I think you can give a lot of the same arguments for Spirit not being a team which can win as you give to NiKo's teams which can't win. It's just the fact that Donk is that much better, where with him they can win. I think if NiKo picks up a Russian dictionary and was on Spirit for the same period of time, let's even say at the same stage of his career, he has the same 170 rated event, like as a very early debut event for him, and he has that. I don't think NiKo does the same thing. I'm not even sure. Like, I don't think NiKo anywhere near parallels Donk, because Donk just reframed everything.
Again,
because
we're not having a conversation about has individually Donk's peak been matched. Like, come on. We're not having that conversation. We know the reality of it, but it can't by itself undo something else that in itself is unprecedented and Donk has yet to prove he can do, which is to be the top rifler for more than 2 years. Shit, Olaf Meister managed 1, and he's in the Hall of Fame fucking nominee list. That is how hard it is to do, and he did it for a decade.
The thing I'm thinking about is, like, how much credit can you get from longevity when the guy who has a much shorter period of time has undoubtedly managed to do the things you couldn't? Because I think, take the other 4 of Spirit and stack them up to whatever you think NiKo's best team is. Let's say FaZe.
Rain, Guardian, Olaf Karrigan, probably. Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
it shouldn't be, but currently it still is, because Falcons have been disappointing.
Rain, Guardian, Olaf, Karrigan is better than Chopper, Zontix, Magix, Shiro. I will say period. I will say period on that.
Briefly it was. Before Guardian got injured, and they had to have a bunch of stand-in situations, and then he comes back and plays absolute wank. Yes, and that period is also where they happened to have the most dominant event run in all of history, ESL1 New York. So it's a big what-if in that sense.
If you want to give another one, this is more recent, it's easier to compare. m0NESY, HooXi, Hunter, JKS is better than Shiro, Chopper, Zontix, Magix.
Is it?
It is. I think it is. It's closer. It's closer. I think, honestly, that's probably maybe, like, in the period with all those other circumstances, I think maybe that's even better than the FaZe team.
Stinky, though. Like, that's a stinky ass team. Like, that's a 1-2
prestige.
Really? This is your this is what we're leaning on, Hunter.
What I mean is that team could have done what Spirit with Donk has done if NiKo was that good, and he isn't, and he hasn't ever been.
But the fact that you're having that conversation about a team that have competed in 2023 compared to a team that competed in 2017, again, highlights the problem. He was that good for so long. No one else has ever even managed it. Not even close.
It's hard. It's a really hard judgment, because at some point you have to draw the line where how much credit can you get for longevity if you are just worse? And that's
depends on what worse means. We're not talking about a guy who was 1.09 support entry.
No.
Again, we are still talking about a guy who was at the top of his field for 10 years. I'm not trying to say Dupree is the greatest rifler of all time. I'm not talking about a guy who's dragged to championship after championship. I'm talking about, for 10 years, at worst, the 3rd best rifler. For 10 years.
And you have to frame it like that, and that's also a discussion. But then, like, you have to draw the line at some point, because NiKo hasn't done what Donk did. He couldn't do what Donk did. He was worse, is sort of the bottom line where I'm coming to. And yes, longevity, that gives him credit. And I'm not going to say that longevity is never a factor. Like, I think there's an argument for Device being better than a lot of operators who aren't named zywoo or Simple because of longevity, even if he didn't peak as high.
I mean, unfortunately, he did peak as high, or if not higher, than pretty much every other author that isn't like.
Well, yeah, but like Device over m0NESY, and that's not even if you remove the trophies. Again, Device over m0NESY because of the longevity. longevity gives him credit there. I think you can give a lot of things to Dupree to other riflers who maybe had higher but briefer peaks because of this very long span of a career he has and this very long achievement. Magisk, the same thing, but Dupree even longer. So for that, I think longevity goes some ways, but for me, it just doesn't feel right. For me, I draw the line where Donk sits above NiKo at this point. But I think this Cologne is what does it. I don't think I would have said that 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
It doesn't feel all that good to me either, but that's sort of where I judge
it doesn't feel good to you because you know it's wrong, but it's okay. We'll have to move on. We could spend the entire day on this because you're very wrong, and I could tell you 100 different ways. But
I'll just say one more thing. If you look at events that are like exceptional for NiKo, like his top, like if you draw a line in KPR, pretty much anywhere, like Donk has pretty much already paralleled that many events with that minimum KPR. If you go by rating, the line I drew was 135. Like NiKo has 10 135 rated at big events out of 102 attempts. Donk has 11 out of 18. And NiKo has much lower bottoms. Donk has a much higher floor. Donk has a much higher percent. Like,
whilst we talk about the next topic, amuse yourself. Look up 0.7 KPR. Usually the line where we draw for Star Rifler. Because you're going to find about 70 for one guy, and the other guy's only played 18 for crying out loud. Let's go. Next topic. Because again, you're so off base on that one. United 21. Now, this is a small site, a very small event. Honestly, only really caught most people's attention because of an Akros failing. As much as we love to talk about anti-cheats in the Counter-Strike world, Akros has had a series of false negatives, false positives, false flags, basically. Most notably for me, pinging G2 Ares' Klim, their AWPer who is kind of on a tear. I think he's like 1.25 rate since joining G2 Ares, but specifically in United League has been outstanding. And this is a fascinating game because the matchup where this happens is G2 Ares versus Fish123. Now, again, we're talking big names here. I know, welcome to those of you who are not usually Retake the Week watchers. Welcome to the level of CS we're willing to talk about that you're just never watching. This is, of course, Smooya's team. He's playing with Juho, 7kick, Magilla, and Mikey, but Mikey with a J, that M-A-J Mikey, not M-I-K-E or M1K. There's a lot of Mikeys. After map 1 of Inferno, Klim gets the false flag. And that sends them into a spiral. Like, Ancient itself, with the stand-in Coach Letney, they still managed to get 10 rounds, but map 3, Dust 2, just completely wiped away. 13-0. Like, that's not even a contest. And there's a lot of complaints on Twitter, obviously, talking about, you know, how hard done by they are. There's no way to replay the match. So we have to go to the lower bracket for G2 Ares and fight their way through. And they still do. They still absolutely do. They win against ARB, I believe that is. No, Prestige. Then Gen 1, sorry, Prestige, different group of Danish people. Gen 1, Masonic, and now they're playing the Grand Final again. So they're getting that rematch, and I thought it'd be a cool little point of interest to bring up, because the rematch has started. We started so late today that the rematch is already on map 2, with the repeat first map of Inferno also going the way of G2 Ares. So we can actually see it live in the flesh how the rematch should have gone. Currently on Ancient, the pick of Fish123. But a really frustrating point about these sorts of anti-cheats. They can have problems. False positive. G2 Ares is top, like upper bracket run, kind of pissed on just because of that. And now they finally get a chance to avenge themselves. But yeah, just thought it'd be a cool little topic to bring up just because G2 Ares have been a team I've been slowly following. Like, I was desperate to watch them whilst they weren't on HLTV. Like, I was following their games that they play in like ESCA leagues and stuff. They were of curiosity to me. I wanted to see how well G2 had scouted. And as soon as I started watching their games play, I was like, holy fuck, they've actually done a pretty good job. And I've become kind of a strong follower, a fan even of players like Klim, especially Nidoria, the French guy. Oh my god, he's been playing some good CS. So I just thought we'd bring up this team because we are kind of the show that talks about young players, prospects, Tier 3 CS. This is a combination of all of it. Yeah, really loving what I'm seeing from G2 Ares. And yeah, down 6-4 on map 2, but the game's still on. They're now facing JL. JL's now playing Fish 123.
Yep.
Whatever.
I did note that. Yeah, no, it's interesting with G2 Academy because they sort of started out with a little bit of rehashed talent, I think. They started out with TAC and FNK, both previously of Sprout Academy. FNK is a Prodigy agency, like managed by them. TAC very briefly appeared for a Go as well, which is a pretty big org. Like you get some eyes on you if you sign for a Go.
Yeah.
So they started out with that, but then since then they've made roster changes, and mostly those players have been like genuine scoutings. Like Klim was nowhere. Nidoria joined quite recently. He was nowhere. I'm not even sure if they had...
played famously. Sorry, another Retake the Week special. Traffic Tashkent. That's where Hittori
Yes,
played.
we love
Some of the
Traffic
OGs will know Traffic Tashkent of all teams. But yeah, no, they did some pull, like some absolutely deep pulls. And yeah, not everyone's very young. Tak and FNK are both 20 and 23. But the other three, Hittori and Nidoria, are both super young. Klim's like 18 or 19. Like these guys are very young, very exciting players.
Yeah. Love Traffic Tashkent, man. Shout out ICV loan.
Yeah, that's the big dog right there.
Yeah, it's cool. Like they've got a good project going. The Akros thing was
frustrating,
weird. Like I mean, like it's they're very good at correcting these things. I think United 21 were the ones who failed here because Akros did confirm very quickly that it was technical, and we get this like every other month or so. We get a pro player who gets banned, and within 20 minutes they're unbanned because they just wrote to support and they're like, yeah, we saw the moment this ban wave happened that this was a technical issue, and we fixed it in 20 minutes. I think this was the controversy, I think, was the fault of the tournament organizer, who, because it was the match was replayed, right?
Nope.
Oh, it wasn't.
Nope.
Yeah, it was also the fault of G2 because I read Smooya's thread, and it's like G2 were claiming it was unfair because they had to play with their coach, Letney, and Smooya wrote that like, no, we gave you like an extra 90 minutes to either resolve the issue or find a stand-in, and then you played with your coach. And like, you could easily have texted somebody and just said, do you want to hop in for a game? Like, it's no issue. There's definitely players who would take that chance. So probably a bit of both in terms of who has the right to complain. But here is the rematch. Probably maybe a little bit tense.
There's going to be some shit talking after this one. I'm assuming there's already a few bodies been shot. You know, that kind of bad blood that we sometimes get. Obviously, there's no LAN vibe. That's always a downer. I do wish there was some way that we could get every single match on LAN, but obviously that's ridiculous. Absurd, but it'd be fun. This is the kind of game you'd want to see on LAN. This is the kind of game where you want them facing each other, standing up. You know, giving it Johnny Big Bollocks when in reality not a single one of you is fighting. Shut up. This would be a really fun game. But no, I'm sure there's plenty of shit talk in the server, plenty of very loud nice and hand slaps, etc. If anyone's playing on boot camp. I'm assuming Fish 123 are not, but you never know with G2 Ares. I'm not sure what's going on with them.
Fish 123 boot camp.
Fish 123 then. It's a ridiculous game. We all know that. But yeah, no, just a little point of interest because, you know, small site retakes. I want to talk about smaller events. We got other smaller events we're going to talk to as well. Talk about rather. But for me, this one was one that I was following personally, keeping track of G2 Ares performances. I saw them, they were facing up with Masonic in the lower final. I was like, please, for the love of God, smash them. And they did. Oh my God, they did. 13-6, 13-4.
Yep.
Klim, Tak, Nidoria, just masterclasses. Hittori, actually, to be fair, got a good rating too. This is the team that I'm most invested in as far as prospects right now. Like, there's 3 of them on the roster.
Yep.
And they're all a lot of fun.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Since we're not going to talk about this event again, also attending this event, going out top 8, Migo Short, and I want to shout them out because they are, at least as of a couple of days ago, they were number 1 in advanced, despite having no org, which is pretty impressive to be honest. Advanced is not a not a bad cut, and it wasn't like they played 2 games. I think they played 5 or 6 games. So to top the league, I think they went undefeated, which is solid.
This
in
is the
ESL
Chelsea
advanced.
project,
So-
isn't it? Yeah.
Well, no, it's not the Chelsea project. Wait, actually, who played in these maps?
Chelsea.
The guy who.
That's why I'm bringing.
Yeah, but he's only been here for like these 2 games. The person who usually it's basically, if you think TVS, Twinkie, Silence, Brillo, Fuzi sometimes, that Dele, that friend group, they mix sometimes, but they also play advanced with like a more solid roster. And Flusha seems to appear because for some reason.
It's got nothing else to do.
But I've always thought of it as Brillo's project, but I guess he couldn't play this one, United 21 for whatever reason. But yeah, just as a quick shout out, because we are not going to mention them again for
Yeah, they did go out in last
weeks,
place, so,
probably.
You know,
Yeah, but
I'm sure you'll find a way to bring them up next week. Don't worry. Obscure Swede hour with Quack.
No, but I'll tell you. Here's the advanced results: Heroic Academy, XI, Forza Reload, Kono, and Incilio. All of them won, and they're up 5-0. And right now they're second, but like they're first.
Okay.
Right.
If you say
nice.
so, buddy. Right. You have your little small site, which is also quite interesting. We have to shit-talk someone here as well.
Yes, I missed when this happened because it happened during Cologne, which I thought was really stupid. But starting this week, we have Blast Bounty, which is the online LAN event which they run, where you get to pick your opponent. It's a draft.
We don't actually have. We don't actually have a lower third for this. I realized this is the wrong one, so I'm just going to cut this.
I can just sit a bit lower. I can be the lower third if I just hunch down in my chair.
That's not how the layout works. There you go. Blast. It just says blast in the middle of the screen.
Nice. Right. So yeah, there's a draft. You get to pick the opponent. The lower seeded teams get to pick among the higher seeded teams to who they want to play. So I just want to run through this draft real quick to sort of point out where the interesting games might lie. So I'm just going to rattle them off and then stop when it's interesting. MIBR picked VP, NIP picked Pain, Complexity picked Heroic, Fnatic picked Legacy, Ecstatic picked Liquid. Here's where the upset is going to happen, because this is going to be 3rd time's the charm for Team Liquid. They are down in the dumps. This is an online series against a team which just qualified for their second straight Blast event, and have been very solid online. Liquid lost to Sashi, and Ecstatic are better. So that's going to be one to watch. Just added Manx as a coach as well. Just a quick note. I think temporarily, but they put him in. He's back. Foot, the ex-NAVI Junior, are going to square up against Bait. That's interesting, because I feel like that's especially online, that's a coin flip game. So that's really nice. Nemiga picked, I forgot.
Bro, just look at the match page. Like, it's just, they're all there.
I'm trying to go by seeding order. Hang on. Okay. Yeah,
Nemiga they're in order already on the match page. Don't worry.
Nemiga picked G2. TNL picked Navi. And I'll let you go off here.
Yeah, here's where we have a problem. Members will know. We had an interview with Onyx, IGL of TNL, only about, I would say, like 10 days ago. Pretty recently.
Yeah.
In that interview, I talked about his upcoming events. Like, they've qualified for Pro League, Stage 1, and they'd managed to get an invite to this Blast Bounty season. I asked him who he wanted to play, who he felt like they should play. And he's like, 100%, we're picking them. We want to beat them. Vitality. Buddy, you could have picked Vitality. It was right there. But for some reason, you picked NAVI. Come on, man. Come on, you can't give it all that. And then go and pick a team who are, at least ranking-wise, vastly inferior. And who no one really has been that afraid of this year. Like, sure, they're a decent team. They'll make playoffs here and there. They're usually going to be in the decider match. You know, they're pretty strong. But they're not Vitality, are they? So I think that was a bit of a flip-flop there that I couldn't help but notice and was rather alarmed at. I initially thought maybe someone else already picked Vitality. Doesn't seem that was the case. Seems they just chose to go this way. I might be wrong. I know we might be wrong about how the picks went down, but it's...
No, this is correct. Yeah. yeah, unfortunate. I would have loved to see that as a big balls pick. I don't think Vitality would have expected it. They probably sat down and like looked at NRG or OG demos, but yeah. Anyway, FlyQuest picked Aurora, Rare Atom, picked Astralis. Interesting, because they could have picked like Astralis could have gotten picked earlier. They started like picking out of the sort of top 8 teams when Astralis was sort of left over. People were scared of Astralis. I think Rare Atom apparently aren't. EMS picked Face. No, yes, they picked Mongos. EMS picked Mongos.
Yep.
Big picked Furia. Should be a Furia win. Passion UA picked Spirit. I just think it's always interesting to see Passion UA play.
Passion
Passion UA. Bet Boom picked Face. Upset potential there as well. With like that's one I'll keep an eye on with Artforce and Dilides and Face being the way they are. Upset potential. And we end up with the final 2. NRG and OG were left with the choice of Vitality and MOUZ. NRG picked Vitality and OG picked MOUZ. And OG MOUZ is one I said in pre-show. It's a realistic upset there. I think they've made a roster change. Ados might be a bit unpredictable there. I think he played very well in the little qualifier they played with him. And if everything clicks for OG, then they can sort of square up. I mean, yeah, apparently there's an extra 9th gear you can get out of NiKo once in a blue moon. So, yeah.
Ados did not play well with OG.
Oh, he didn't?
He's played 4 maps, I think, and he's got 0.44 KPR.
Yikes.
Yeah, no, that has not gone well for him. Not at all. He did well in the best of ones, as in his rating was green. But then again, the best of 3 against NAVI Jr. just got absolutely whipped. Like just, straight like cat and nine tails lashes across the back. He got whipped.
Right. Let's hope he practiced prior to this. But yeah, that's the event. I like this sort of draft thing, and I don't mind the online. I don't mind the online LAN split. I think it makes it a lot more accessible to a lot of teams who might like ecstatic, who can play it from home. And it brings an extra element of upset potential when big tier 1 teams get the chance to play on LAN. So, and we have a couple of debutants. I think there's a bunch of rosters debuting here. ENS should have their debut with Rigon, I think, and SDY calling. OG probably with us, if that's the player they finalize with, but Fiku's gone anyways. It's going to be debut for Fnatic with Cypher, I think, which is also interesting. Like Cypher, he's not going to stack up to Madis, but I don't think he's going to be an outright bum on this Fnatic team. He shouldn't be.
He shouldn't be a bum, but it is hard to replace Matisse in terms of what he was doing on Fnatic.
Of course, yeah.
And also Fnatic are just a bit weird, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. Aurora should have Xanthars back. No idea why he was gone in the first place.
Family
but
stuff.
Some people mentioned the arrest warrant for the betting thing,
which
we talked about a couple of weeks ago.
Hopefully he's not in jail, but yeah.
I would hope that his family's not in jail, but yeah.
Yeah, also. Side note, yeah.
Also that. Side note, yeah. Shame we don't get to see Tyloo. They pulled out, and I don't remember why, but that's why OG are here. But I guess maybe they realized the travel itinerary was a bit wonky when you are in Europe this much or whatever. I would have liked to see them here. But that's been it. That's been it for the Blast Bounty draft, and it starts Wednesday. I think the first games are. Yeah,
look, if we're gonna do things, I've just seen in chat a little bit of Maui coded,
Tuesday.
Like all caps. Yeah. Like if we're gonna do anything, it's like JKS will humble Xanthars, but yeah, we'll see about that. We'll see about that upset. Probably not. Probably not. But we do have, obviously, we have more Blast coming, I think, in this set of topics. But before we do get to that, we have, I think, what has essentially become the best segment when it does happen.
Yep.
It is the one, the only, Cock of the Week.
Cock of the Week! Yes, this is a reply to a MOUZ Snake tweet, which you sent me, actually. You found this one, but I very much agree with it, and I've done some prep work to consider this one. MOUZ Snake tweeted, "It will be very difficult for zywoo to win MVP of this event now." He tweeted that August 2nd. I don't know if... was that when they lost?
Yes.
Yeah. Maybe it was mid game or after game. I don't know. Anyway, the reply from Codeine Crazy, potent, apt. Might be a hot take, but I think half the MVPs he has, someone else on the team deserved it more, but they gave it to him just because of the zywoo versus simple MVP narrative. Now,
honestly,
he's
just,
a bit
just,
confused.
Just to jump in quickly though, my favorite response to this is someone just responded, calling something a hot take does not justify it being absolutely fucking stupid and objectively incorrect. Like, that's the perfect response to this, because I hate when people be like, might be a hot take, and then say something literally insane, and then at the end of it, developer going, I said it was a hot take. Like, it's not a hot take, you're just idiotic.
Yeah, it's that's just a hot pile of shit if you make that take. You can have lukewarm takes, but you can also just have shit ass takes. But you sent me this while I was walking home from the bus, and I was like, this might have legs. So I thought about it, and I was like, okay, is there a single MVP where zywoo's teammate would have deserved it more? And I went through it in the pre-show. I think most of that discussion is in the pre-show, so if you remember, you can check that at some point in the VOD. Out of all of his 27 total MVPs, there's not a single one where you could even remotely justify a teammate getting the MVP for any other reason than, you know, if you're blinded by the fact that zywoo always has a 1.30 rating and you assume that's his baseline, so then him doing 1.30 is not MVP worthy because that's what he always does. That's the only argument you can make, and it's stupid because it doesn't make any sense. So I went through it. There's a very simple reason for this. Early on in Vitality's history, when zywoo was starting out, in 2019, most of 2020, even a section, like he had one MVP in 2021 as well. Maybe even in 2022, I would say this is true because I don't think he had. Yes, he did have Magisk and Spinks at that point. But when they were French, 2019 to 2021, there was like zywoo was the only guy who was supposed to perform on those teams. You didn't put Happy and Shox and Apex and RPK on those teams to perform. And
I don't know what you mean. Shoxy is a god.
And they very much didn't. Like, the EVPs are listed for all of these events now on the event pages. And you get a couple of EVPs out of his teammates. You definitely do. Like, there's a look, I can pick out like a 119 event from Shox. That's solid. Very good. And I am Beijing Haidian 2020 Europe online.
That was the online one, yeah.
There's another one. 113 at CS Summit 6. Wait, that was also online. Cologne 2019. They made the grand final. Not a single Vitality player has an EVP. All 5 Liquid players who won the event have an EVP, but zywoo has the MVP because he was way ahead of them. And that's sort of why I feel like maybe this guy, he's confused, but he's got the spirit. Because there are a fair few second place MVPs you could justify giving it to an opponent of zywoo's. Zero.
Yeah, we went through it and we're like, this one feels harsh. This one probably isn't quite right. This one's, you know, maybe they were being a bit, you know, second place happy with their distribution of MVPs for a period. Seemed to coincide with zywoo's arrival. Purely coincidence, I'm sure. Not to build into that guy's conspiracy theory at all, but like the idea that he had teammates who could have taken MVPs from him. Look, at best, you could rely on for a zywoo teammate during any period is currently, obviously, with the latest streak of ROPS being around a 1.2. Like, that's not absurd as an MVP take, or Spinks at a 1.12 sort of thing. Like, in terms of his average, like that's probably the best performing teammates he would have had.
Yeah,
there is no situation where you can be like, there is a clear, definitive teammate robbed case here. No, there's not one.
Yes. Because that's the other issue. Even after you transition away from that, and zywoo has help in the form of star players who actually perform, they don't perform to that level because we've never had an MVP worthy performance out of Flamesy or Messi. I'll just say that. Maybe if they had Brokey as a teammate, they could maybe get it, but we've never had it like when you stack him up to zywoo. Rops has been kind of close. Like, he's been up there with like a couple of events. I seem to remember there was a time in this year's Katowice when Rops was being talked about as maybe the first guy who could beat zywoo in the MVP race, but then the grand final happened and it wasn't the case anymore. Maybe even pre the semifinal. And that's like, you can maybe make that argument, but you can never make the argument for Spinks, because even if his group stage ratings was equal or even better than zywoo at sometimes, that's the same time when zywoo started being solid in playoffs consistently, and Spinks wasn't. He was solidly bad in playoffs. He was very consistently bad in playoffs, or worse, to the point where it drops him to a 113. Down from a 125. If he had sustained a 125, yeah, there's a couple of events where zywoo had similar, and you could maybe make the argument that Spinks had more impact as a rifler compared to an opper. But like you know, there's not a single one, and that's the issue. And just to point out, Asylum, Rops would have been the MVP this Cologne. Donk would have been a second place MVP in Cologne if Vitality had won in Cologne. That's just not even unfortunately a fact, because it's a stellar performance.
And
that
the problem with
happened.
the Rops Melbourne one, I was just looking at it as well. The rating is still 0.08 higher for zywoo, and the grand final is clearly like way stronger from zywoo. So it's not like a contrived reason to have given it to him. It's just by every standard what we value in terms of MVPs. It's just zywoo.
Yeah,
clear as day.
Exactly. Because what matters is overall performance, and I think I don't know if they do this, but I think they should if they don't. There is an element of role consideration. You can't just say zywoo. If Rops and zywoo have equal KPR, but zywoo has fewer deaths, this would be more apt for something like Shiro.
World, but yeah.
But it is more apt for something like Shiro and Donk. Like if Shiro had an excellent event, but he has less DPR and therefore he's better. No, I think Donk is still better, because he's the rifler. The opera is supposed to have a lower DPR. I think there's still a role consideration to make here, and you can maybe make an argument for that at some point. But you cannot do it when we also value playoffs more, where zywoo has excelled in recent times, especially this year. He's been really good
in this Melbourne one. Yeah, in the playoffs. Yeah.
Yeah, and even further in grand finals, like there's players who have received MVPs based off of pretty much only grand finals. I think you and I have talked at one point about Kierby's major MVP. And how Device was very much the best Astralis player for most of that event, but he fell off in the final, but Kierby stepped up, and that's where Kierby took it. Like Kierby was solid, but Device was the guy for Astralis all throughout
the star of that event until the grand final, and then they were like, "Well, guess we're giving it to Kierby," and I was like,
"Yeah,
fuck, why really?"
It's probably a very close like if I'd been in the room, it was probably like you would probably have heard that it was a pretty close margin, I would assume. Like if Device was a 1.1 in that final, then he probably still would have won it.
Actually, to be fair, Device is sub 0.9 in the final. Like it's horrible.
Yeah, he was a sub 0.9, so that it's hard to give him that MVP. But yeah, that's those are the things we value. zywoo has always been the best in those metrics. And again, you could say that he has a couple of weaker performances where he was one maybe low 130 something, high 120, and there's an opponent with a similar rating. And yeah, maybe they should have had it because they won and zywoo didn't, but that wasn't really the time we were in. It was a pretty weird era for HLTV accolades in 2019, I feel like, especially in hindsight.
Well, there was a whole period where I was endlessly screeching into the void. Mostly because I wasn't making content or using forums because I have my sanity, but about HLTV's like ranking of players, the MVPs they were giving at one point, with the second place MVPs just getting out of hand, and I was just getting a bit annoyed with it all. But it seems Nero has slowly righted the ship. I feel like for me, post Nero, things just slowly made more and more sense. So I feel like he's brought in like some sort of dedicated like accolades thought is essentially what I'm talking about. Like they put some more thought into it, like in terms of how it should be done, the distribution, the stats that go into it, what actually matters, and it kind of started to correct itself. But yeah, there was some second place MVPs that we got that we talked about this morning that were just like, buddy, not a chance in hell.
Yeah, today it probably wouldn't happen, or if it was somebody else, it probably wouldn't happen. But yeah, I think 2019 is the point where I think it shifted a lot. And I think, honestly, part of the reason is probably the way Astralis played in 2018 and how successful they were. And in particular, how successful they were off the back of the whole team. Because in 2018, that's the one where you have Glaive ending up number 8. You have all 5 Astralis players making top 20, and 4 of them made top 10. Which is it like they were good.
It was absurd. Like it just wasn't right. Everyone knew it. As soon as we saw it, like this just isn't right.
Like Glaive was a 113. Behind him was Crims on a 118. Cold Zero on a 118. Like he basically got up there because of trophies alone. I don't think they do a little motivation thing at the bottom of the article. I don't know if they did it back then. Yes, they did. It's not even that like the in-game leader aspects was a part of it. It's more like event to event consistency. But 2019 is when I felt like we got a big shift where like it was a lot more individual. You end up with players who maybe didn't even win that much overall, who ended up playing quite high on the list, like Rops and Sergey. In that year, Woxic, like you ended up showing more individual accolades, and that was solid. It's like if you had gone by the same metric, then probably all of the Liquid players would have been on the list. So in 2019, because they had this generational run and everything, but that didn't end up happening, and that I'm happy for.
I mean, there's still some players who managed to get overrated from it. Twist, famously, number 9. No. Want to throw something at a wall. 2 spots over NiKo that year. Absurd. But that's besides
NiKo was pretty bad that year.
Look it up.
Okay, yeah, maybe you shouldn't have been ahead of NiKo.
There we go. Thank you. Anyway, as per
I think
I know my shit.
Yeah.
As per usual.
6 straight big event wins, but all right, yep.
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot Twist was the embodiment of the entirety of Liquid. My bad. Absurd
top
statement. 2. If we're going to spit on blasts as well, like and for NiKo's entire MVP run, and we're going to start factoring that in, come on, let's not be ridiculous.
I mean, yeah, you have an argument. I think probably again, a lot of these things are subjective, and I like that. I like the fact that we can disagree with these awards. They shouldn't be boring and objective and only go off the hard
objectively
true
wrong
facts. Yeah, they shouldn't go off of stuff like that. But that I think the reason why they did that was NiKo won jack shit and Twists won a lot, and they had relatively similar statistics. That's probably why.
Not similar, but it's okay.
Same rating, but
then. Oh, the same rating. Sorry, I forgot. No other context ever factored in. No playstyle, no fragging numbers. Oh, the rating taught me what I have to believe. Thank you very much. Next, let's go on to the next topic before I start screeching about your misunderstanding of stats again. Blast, Open London. The teams are finalised, and this is indirectly what everyone has wanted us to talk about, essentially, for a lot of this episode, because people are talking about a specific one of these qualifiers for some strange reason. Well, not strange at all. Very, very expected reason. This was the opportunity to play at Blast Open London specifically. And we're going to begin with, the least controversial of these. So this is the Res Showdown 2 Blast Premier Rising event EU. I mean, not really much to see here, I think. Yeah, NAVI Junior beat OG. As we said, we kind of touched on that one. Fnatic beat Sparta with tier 15 legend Uram Yata. Everyone who's ever looked up the most ridiculous 6 AM game will recognize that guy. And Ecstatic beating Zero Tenacity. I mean, there's another quarterfinal here, but I don't think anyone watched it. Some Academy side. Semi-finals, that Academy side's still here for some reason. Fnatic lost to Ecstatic. Then the grand final, Ecstatic beat this random Academy. To qualify. So yes, Ecstatic will be at Blast Open London 2025. Pretty cool.
Woo!
Big opportunity
Rejoice.
for them.
I see why you guys wanted us to talk about this.
Yeah, I mean, you're big Ecstatic fans, clearly. I mean, the return of Danish CS to a real LAN. More than just the Astralis. No, of course, we can drop the pretense. Everyone was here. I saw it in my Discord. Liquid VP Prodigy. A game that will probably not be remembered for very long, but will definitely be memed on, brought up in jest for the foreseeable future. It was a nightmare. So we start off with Dust 2. Now, I watched this game. I watched map 1 intensely, then was streaming and had like the scoreboard up for the rest of it. Then I went and rewatched Nuke in a demo, which might be a video coming soon. I've got most of the demo annotated. I feel like doing a video about it. But Dust 2 was pretty abysmal from Liquid. They start on the CT side, it's VP Prodigy's pick, and VP Prodigy do whatever the fuck they want. That's essentially their T side. They're like, we want to hit long. They get the long space, they get the opening kill, the flashbang catches Shuhei perfectly. We want to exec. Now, off the back of a later long lurk, which has gone unchecked because of a mid-skirmish. Oh, yep. The site's vacated. At every turn, they hit the right bomb site. They managed to fake out Liquid. They took straight up duels and beat them. It was insane. Just insane to watch, where you're thinking, this team is just almost outclassing Liquid. And they're not just an academy of young players. They are kids. Little children. They are like 18 years old at the oldest. This is a team with no experience that just completely outperformed them on Dust 2. Now, Mirage went back the way of normalcy. Like, Liquid absolutely obliterated them. They picked it, went 10-2 on the T side. There was nothing really to report. Nothing really to report. Then Nuke happened. And now Nuke, 60 rounds from Liquid should be good, right? Now, they did have a few rounds they kind of threw away, rounds that were kind of awkward to look at. Let me bring my notes out, actually. I've got all the tea. Like, I've got the tea right here. On the other side, I've even got, like, more. But starting on page 1. We have one of my sort of... How do I put this? Favorite sort of rounds, but Liquid run sort of a standardish round. Like, Shuhei gets to vent. The problem is, not only is it so obvious he's going to try vent, he's also sitting right in the spot where VP Prodigy, I believe it's Aqua, the IGL, just spams, straight headshots him. Just straight through the edge of the smoke. You're like, okay, it's just an unfortunate start. But they do get ramp control off the back of it. They do get some space. They get a player lurking into main. That's Nertz. And he has Treeborg, I think it is. Yeah, Treeborg. Famously, top 10 HLTV rifler. Looking the wrong direction. Nertz appears on the corner of his screen, and before Nertz has time to realize Triborg is there and shoot him, Triborg flicks fucking 90 degrees, headshots him twice. Absolutely absurd. Absolutely absurd. Now, that's just how that sort of round starts. Liquid do get ramp, right? Because VP like kind of spread out. Not ramp, they get lobby, because VP kind of spread out and start looking for info outside. They start clearing stuff. They actually have a pretty proactive and kind of smart sort of approach to their play. Like, they tried stuff in the mid round. They went looking for info. They paired up, went clearing. They get the info, but by the time they've managed to get that info, Liquid have been dawdling in lobby for so long that there's like 4 people rotating into that fucking A bomb site. They just get swept aside. Like, they're trying to run in late, minimal util. There's too many players. They just get mopped the fuck up. And round 12 is an absolutely dreadful A-pop that just gets shut down. Like, there was nothing to it. And still 6 rounds, you think it's enough? No. On the T half, I mean, VP Prodigy are like taking space outside, leaving lurkers, winning clutches. There's a 1v2 won by Bist, which I can't show because I recorded it. I recorded it on my PC, but my demo was really laggy and my mic was on, so it was catching the music I was listening to. So the audio is dreadful. But essentially, just a 1v2 where he comes up heaven, and from heaven, he walks in over, scopes in. There's a player like here, flicks, fucking hits him. Then realizes where the other guy is. I think the last guy's probably Shuhei or Ultimate, because those two had an absolute nightmare. Repeats again. Again, his crosshair starts, not even close. But the flick, I'm talking the demo doesn't register a movement. He's aiming here, the player is there, he shoots, the player over here is dead. Like, instantaneous. This team has some absolute fraggers, but is also playing with such confidence into a Liquid roster who should have all the experience, all the veteran tricks, even should have better individuals. At no point did it look like they had even 2 of those 3 things. It was absurd. And then Nuke overtime, yeah, we get some crazy clutches. We get some really poor Liquid shooting. Like, there are moments where Ultimate, genuinely, what are you aiming at? What are you even trying to do? They threw away round after round after round, just poor individual play. Nerds was basically, it was 40% of the time he might find an opening, 60% of the time just instantly banged. Just banged. No clue what he's doing. So they were outclassed by an academy team of kids. Literal kids, and it was embarrassing. Absolutely embarrassing. And yeah, that's not even touching on some of the Dust 2 tragedies in terms of the individual shooting. Oh, Lord. The double AWP setup that never should have existed. The Nerds ultimate double AWP setup. They should have both been on rifles. It was disgusting. Disgusting. But yeah, that's what everyone wants to talk about. That's what everyone's been watching, hate watching. I've been rewatching, just combing apart. It's an ugly game of CS where, like, every context where Liquid should have the advantage, like 2v2, use your experience, use your teamwork. You've been together so long now. Every time they fell apart. Every time they fucked it up. And that's why Twist said it. They're just not a team. They're 5 random guys.
Was it some B-Trams or maybe his friend who also does some stats thing did the post about the duos, like the best duos statistically, who adds the most win probability as a duo, and
right,
like one of the discussion points was that NiKo and MOUZ were very low.
All right, I think I know what you mean.
All right. Yeah, it was one of those. I wonder where all of the Liquid pairings rank on that list.
Oh, second last, and third last, probably.
Probably, yeah. Yeah, Jesus, no. It's a Hall of Fame match. It's a Hall of Fame match, and it's set to be repeated. With the Ecstatic game, because remember, Ecstatic beat VP Prodigy. They've already, like, this is a better opposition than for Liquid. Doesn't really make any sense, and I don't really know. Liquid are kind of down in the dumps at this point. They should never lose that game. If something has to change, and I don't know what, but it's a Hall of Fame map. Honestly,
I honestly have no idea what they can change. Like, in this match, Shuhei on 2 maps got outcalled. Nerds got outlurked and out sort of rifled. The only player who didn't get outplayed in his positions outright is probably NAF, which
great series from him.
Really, NAF is the only guy who managed to do anything against these guys. Ultimate, what's his numbers overall? And he has like a good streak at one point on this Nuke game. Overall, just horrible. It's like, this is the exact kind of team you used to play online all the time. Have you forgotten that you can just hit the shots? Like, nothing worked. Yeah.
There's when they lost to Sashi as well, NAF was also really good there. He was top fragging for the team. I mean, the overall rating isn't as good, but like with the whole team in the dumps, he top frags the team. Him and Ultimate are kind of solid. It's Twists and Nerds letting them down stats wise, and that's like, you should never lose that game either. This is
no, never.
Yeah, like Sashi is still a team that, like, they pretend to be tier 1 adjacent. They probably play a bit more structured. This VP Prodigy team, you should never lose. Like, this is, it's so funny, and I can't wait for the Ecstatic game. I'm surprised we haven't seen that many cheating accusations towards these random Russian kids who debuted a couple of months ago. And I'm not saying they are, but I'm surprised we haven't seen it.
We usually do, especially on a team who like for example, gets like some successful lurks in, outplays a team in some 1v1s and 2v2s. But quite often, if you watch it, Liquid just fumble. That they just fumble it. There's nothing else to it. So I guess it's for that side of things. People are not looking to accuse these guys of cheating because they're too busy accusing Liquid of, well, being utter frauds who don't deserve any of their money.
I think maybe the people who usually make cheating accusations, they saw this one and, like, baseless cheating accusations. They saw this one and they were like, we're gonna let this one slide because you beat Liquid.
It's Liquid. That's almost more insulting to Liquid than anything else. That people saw them lose to an academy of children no one's ever fucking heard of.
Yeah,
and no one will accuse the other team of cheating. Not even one person.
3 of these players, Akros, Toro, and Triborg, HLTV debuted on this team in March when they played like a LAN grand final. and the other two only played a single best of 3 before that same LAN grand final.
The thing is about this team, the reason they've been so obscure is they are like more of a Middle Asian Russian group. Like, that's why they attended this LAN where they played all Ninas, and it's in Almaty in Kazakhstan. Like, this is not a team of like Western Russian players, as far as I'm aware. Like, these are all guys from pretty far out. So I get why no one's ever heard of them, because for the same reason I wouldn't have. Like, they've not played HLTV maps. They've played in like Kazakh probably, or Tajik, or whatever kind of like Middle Asian sort of leagues and rosters. So they are very obscure. So I wouldn't have been too surprised if someone had come out and accused them of cheating on some dodgy basis. You know, the classic, look how he never jiggles when the AWP's there. Immediately jiggles. But, you know, there wasn't even that. Everyone just assumed Liquid's that trash. Yeah, it's very weird. They play... They made it into ESEA Advanced, and before that they played in main, but since they restructured it to fit with VRS, I think they played the Advanced Qualifier and made it up. It's a whole thing. They barely play HLTV level, and after that one grand final in March, they didn't play HLTV until July. That's when they showed up again. So they're very obscure. Yeah, they're now playing like European sort of games. Yeah. Like level matches, and man, everyone's on the best hype train, but overall this team's just, there's a lot of players here making really good plays, worth keeping an eye on. There is an academy league going on. I sent this to you. I don't know if you saw it. You did. I didn't put it in the notes, but there's going to be, what's it called? No, it's not notes worthy because it's a very small event, but there is somebody running an academy league right now, which is completely off my radar. It's not on HLTV. Yeah. No. It has 8 teams in attendance. It's Super Massive Academy, which I don't know who the hell they are, but the rest you recognize. It's G2RS, VP Prodigy. No, sorry, it's VP Future even. It's not. It's their second Prodigy academy team apparently. Yeah, it's the 12-year-olds. Yeah, but then it's the new MOUZ NXT. It's Sangal Academy, which I think is Turkish. It's Alliance Academy, which is Swedish. It's Aurora Youngblood, which is probably a new roster. And then 3D Max Academy, which I didn't know existed. Me neither. I didn't know Aurora Youngblood had a new roster either. Like, no, I had no idea. But they've been playing. It's a $3,000 event. It's called Urban Academies, and it's run by Urban Contenders, who run online events sometimes with similar level teams. Just they aren't explicitly academies. Urban Academies 1. I've got the Wikipedia here. Oh, they had one? Okay, nice. Yes. Yeah, I think this is it. Oh, okay. Yeah, this is it. There are apparently a couple more teams attending, but I guess they only Themed Academy about with a bunch of Serbs and Choiv. Oh. You recognize? EC Banger Next Gen, Latvians. Copenhagen Wolves with 3 Danes, Ukrainian and a Slovak. MOUZ NXT's rosters here, yeah. Northern Lights are invited here. Weird. They're not an academy team. I guess maybe. It's like an association. Sashi Academy, so Big Academy. Hey, yeah, okay. 3D Max Academy has academies. Yeah, 3D Max Academy has Flexor as a coach, who was the guy who found all of the Wonder Kids, and 0 of them turned into anything. Oh, that roster. Yeah. He was the guy who brought up Nivera, Misuta, Kyojin, and the guy who never became anything, which is Saba, I think. Yeah, I mean, it's not all terrible picks. Like, honestly, if you're picking out talents, Masuta and Nivera are good picks. Yeah, but nothing came of them. So there was a time when he was heralded as like the best talent scout in Europe. Oh, 2 games have been played. G2 Ares beat the whatever the fuck, 13-3 on Inferno. VP Future beat MOUZ NXT 13-6 on Nuke. Really? Only on Retake the Week, guys. Only on Retake the Week. Yeah, no one else is ever gonna be watching these games or following these games. There's not even a match page I can go to. This is just, it's a pretty well updated Wikipedia page. So if you want to check it out, you can keep track of it. There's 2 groups. And the other group, Aurora Youngblood and Sangal Alters, beat 3 Max and Alliance. So those are those openers. Yeah. Shout out people who edit Wikipedia. Yeah, and
You are
also
the
shout
goat.
out Urban Contenders for throwing this together. It's pretty cool. There's actual commentators and observers listed, although none of them have pages, and I've not seen a stream linked. So
This is interesting. I always thought
followed
that
their
United
Twitch. I found their
21 was
Twitch.
supposed to be this kind of thing, where they only had, as in U21, you only had young teams. And I think I did the math at some point where there was maybe one or two of these United 21 events where all the attending teams were like had an average age under 21. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. Or maybe under 22. So, but I don't think they do that anymore because now you have Flusha playing in these. Yeah.
But yeah, okay. That's something to keep an eye on. I
Well,
will be tracking it. We do have to talk about the other qualifiers and the other things for this Res event. Just in brief, I've got them written down. So we had Blast Rising Asia, Ace South America, and Ace NA Masters. So the Asia thing, which was insanely delayed, talking to Yumi, we were supposed to record yesterday at 2 o'clock. The grand final was supposed to start at 11:40. Even that was delayed to 11:40. It ended up starting till almost 2 o'clock. So bit of a shit show event, but FlyQuest win that over the Huns.
Happens a lot in Asia, unfortunately.
Score, crazy fucking ratings.
Oh, this is...
Out Score. Score's still on
This is LAN, nice.
Yep, that was LAN. And then we had, in South America Online, Legacy beat Imperial 2-0 in the final match, not even close, to make it through. Dumao and Lato having one of their sort of pop-offs. The kind of things which happen a lot, but can never rely on, really. And then North American version, M80 beat NRG 2-zip pretty comfortably to qualify. NRG still disappointing me to this day. Wildcard, of course, getting beaten by Marsborn because they are an embarrassing shit show, an offense to competitive Counter-Strike, and should return to selling bathwater. Anyway, those are the other ones that we have given
Wolfie. Yep.
Great amounts of time to.
Yes.
You know what? It's time for something a bit lighter. It's time for the Retake Games. The Retake Games. Here we go. You've got something for me. Play along in chat. Try not to cheat. If you do cheat, I will find you and I will kill you. So let's go.
I need a pen and paper. Hang on.
Do I need a pen and paper?
If you want, but this is to recall to the Stico episode. Counter-Strike tension. I have another tension for you.
Oh, okay.
So the top 10 of some category is what I'm going to challenge you on. And for those who didn't watch the Stico episode, a lot of you didn't. The viewership on that episode was very bad. Shame on you. Go watch it after this one. No, okay. So if you didn't watch that episode, I have a category of some statistic, and it's what I'm going to challenge T to do is in 45 seconds, he's going to name players who he thinks are in the top 10 of that statistic. If he hits number 11, 12, or 13, he gets -3 points, but the closer player he gets to number 10, he gets more points. So let's say he gets number 10, he gets 10 points. If he also mentions number 11, he gets 7 points total. That's the score. And if he gets 11, 12, and 13, he can't just rattle off players, because if he gets all of them, like 11, 12, 13, it doesn't matter if you got number 10, because you will get -9. Or 10 minus 9. 10 minus 9. You get 1. That's the thing.
What if I get 10 and 9 and 8? Do I get points for 10 and 9 and 8, or just the closest I get?
Just the closest, because otherwise the negative wouldn't mean anything.
Okay.
All right. So here, I'll just set up a timer. And I'm going to tell you the category when I start the timer. And you can play along at home as well. So 45 seconds is what I'm going to give you. And just rattle off players. You can say them out loud if you want. But it's... otherwise, you can have a pen and paper. Actually, yeah, do say them out loud, because I'll be writing them down. Otherwise, you can cheat. So, yeah. Right. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
All-time maps for G2. Go.
I want G2 number 10 all time. Oh lord, they're a weird org to try and assess. Because their history is strange, like in terms of where it starts, the rosters they fielded.
15 seconds have passed.
That's cool. I'm trying to snipe number 10 like I did last time. I feel like the French roster might be the way I should go. Well, they did play a lot of maps. All right,
15.
give me... I'm going to pick my boy, Kenny S. Then I'm going to take one that's probably bigger but safer. Give me... Hooksy.
All right. And your time is up right there. So you only picked 2 players.
Yeah.
I can tell you, I would have played it more safe here. I would have rattled a couple of.
Couple of what?
But
like
a couple
just
players.
guessing random players from 1 to 5 it literally gets you nothing. Like unless I've picked 11 and 12,
players.
you know, like.
I mean, I would have picked a bunch of reasonable, but all right. I see a name in chat. Amanek was mentioned, and I'm just going to start there because I feel like that's a good place to start. Do you think Amanek has more or less G2 maps than Kenny has?
More.
He has less. He has 582. And I'm not going to tell you exactly where that is, but that's just an estimate. He has 582 G2
At this
maps,
point, I'm
which
done
is less
guessing,
than
so
Kenny.
just tell me anything you want.
Yeah, all right. The number 10, which you didn't get, was Smith's
Fuck.
at 326 maps. So by that, you can also conjure that Amanek is higher up on that list. Number 9, Monacy with 519. He's up to at this point, and he's not getting any more. He's left. Nexa, number 8 at 558. And like I said, Amanek, number 7 at 582. Big surprise pick here. Body at 620.
No, that makes sense. He was there forever.
I do feel like Amanek will stay longer. But yeah, Jax at only 689. He was also there forever, I feel like. Number 4, NiKo at 695. Number 3, Shocks at 750.
God, I forgot how many
Number
maps people
2.
played back in the day. Jesus.
Yes, they did, because number 2 is Kenny S at 877. So you have 2 points. And number 1, do you want to take a guess who's number 1?
Number 1, if Kenny S is number 2.
Yeah.
Huh. Scream?
No, Hunter, 992.
Oh, it is Hunter. I should have remembered Hunter. Yes.
Yeah, but you have mentioned another player, and if he is 14th or lower, you're fine. You get your 2 points. Otherwise, you end in the negative.
It's all good. There's no leaderboard. I don't give a shit.
There's gonna be a leaderboard. I'm gonna have a
I
leaderboard.
don't give a fuck.
Number 11, NBK, 286 maps. I put him number 12, but he's equal. Apex at 286 as well. And the tension is unbearable. But number 13 is unfortunately Hooksy at 277. And you end on negative 1 point in total for the record-setting worst game of Counter-Strike tension ever on the Retake the Week show.
I mean, the last one we did, I got a perfect 10. I don't give a shit. So.
Yep. Really bookends the scoreboard there. Yep.
Yeah, I'm bothered. Absolutely
Right, yeah.
unbothered.
I'll have a couple more.
Okay. That's an interesting one.
I
I'd
did
never-
pick it because you like the French teams. I figured you might
Yeah, I
pick a
never
lot of
realized
French
how
guys.
much more CS they played.
Mm.
Absolute slog back
But it's
in
also
the
a
day.
long time. Like you do have to remember as well that Kenny joined G2 like what 2017 and he played until 2021. It's quite a long time as well.
Yeah, fuck.
Yeah.
Just so much that
Hunter
was
as well
trash.
joined.
I mean,
Hunter joined
Hunter
2019
played
and
forever,
played continuously until now. Yeah, 6 years. Yeah.
But okay. It's time for the Eternal Shuffle. Every week there's somehow more Eternal Shuffling happening. There's always more changes to rosters. Let's get into it.
I'll give you a couple. First one, the big news. BC Game bought out and signed Simple. And then afterwards also confirmed Andu and Emi. And I thought when they signed Andu and a Serbian coach to match Nexa as an IGL, I thought that this was going to be the final one. And they would play with Nexa, Primetaps, and Satanito. And I still think they might play a bit with them because they have like games August 11th. But Overdrive also said that they are buying 3 more tier 1 players. And he didn't say which org they were from, but he said they were a tier 1 org.
Yeah, we'll see.
So what do you think about Simple going to BC Game, just in general?
If they've got the money, I guess go there, bud. But, like, he's so desperate to play, he's literally playing for anyone in this sense. Like, the anyone is this team. It's a strange move. I mean, if they buy the right core, who gives a fuck, they'll be back into real events immediately. But if they're playing CCTs and shit, and he's got to drag himself through the mud in terms of that sort of competition, it's going to be a long year. It's going to be a very long year. And the Andu part of it, Andu's talented, but he's not like some proven elite player. Emi is a coach.
He's on trial as well.
Has never coached. Like, especially not a team that's trying to be a top team. Look, HTV is listed as coach for BC Game and no one else.
Huh.
He's been a
Could've sworn he
lifetime
coached something.
IGL of, and not a very good one in terms of the fragging, but some of the calling's been okay.
He briefly coached Valiance and Crazy, but it was a weird thing. He then went back to playing for the same team.
Yeah, it wasn't really a coaching stint, so it's odd, but it's, I don't know, he's got a brain for the game, I guess, but just not very capable at implementing it to his own hands. I don't know. Depends on who they sign. For now, it's just like, for BC Game, it's an A, but for Simple, it's like a B minus. Like, technically, you got what you need to do done, but Lord, why here?
Yeah. I'm looking at some of the cores just for now, because you're looking to get VRS is what you're looking to get. And they're 68th right now, so you have a lot of options to pick from if you just want to take a step up. But you're not going to buy the 58th ranked team, so I think you're looking at something. He said it was a tier 1 organization. To him, that might mean wildcard or OG, but I don't think so.
It's vague and not very helpful. It's standard overdrive stuff. Like, I don't really care.
I mean, yeah, but he has sources. On this, I think it might be accurate.
Yeah, but I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm just saying it's vague and unhelpful.
Yeah.
Like, go away.
I did just get
cool,
an idea.
you got your likes.
Like,
bro.
You wouldn't gain much because they've fallen down to 51st, but you could buy Susp, Stanislaw, and Sonic and make that team. But yeah, anyway, no, I think you're looking at tier 1. You're not buying Fnatic. I don't think you're buying M80. I've said that Liquid should just overhaul their entire roster, and they could sell their underperforming players to TNL and bump them up into 26th in the world. Could be cool. I think TNL, like, there's a ticking timer on them until they renew their contracts with the level they're at right now. Right now they're going to be dirt cheap, but I don't think BC Game care about that, and it's not a tier 1 org either. So I'm just thinking, like, who could it be? They could be buying a heroic core, I guess, but I don't think they are. I think heroic are probably unwilling to sell, and I'm not even sure they would be willing to go, even to play with Simple, which is like a couple of years ago. That was the eternal, like, you could attract anyone by saying I get to play with Simple. No, it's hard. I don't think you're buying a Gamer Legion core. Maybe a 3D Max core.
If you can get PR, Res, and ZTR, think about your placement on the leaderboards, the quality of player. If you can also sneak Ash across whilst you're at it, you've not just flipped the script, you've built a monster.
Yeah, it's just very weird to sign Emmy to do that.
Is he actually signed, or is he temp?
I think maybe it was a trial thing. If I'm, yeah, he's a trial coach. So yeah, okay, if he's very much replaceable. Could it be the other way around? Are they buying a FaZe core? FaZe couldn't buy Simple. I think for Simple, this is a pretty good move because a report, like somebody said, I think Thorin said he heard it was a very short contract.
Yeah.
And that makes sense for Simple. I mean, he got bought out. He gets a couple of months of play where he's probably going to farm. And worst case scenario, his contract runs out. He's a free agent, and FaZe might want to take a chance on him or whatever. It makes sense. No, I can't really think of anything else. They're not buying a Falcons core, not buying a Furia core, not buying NAVI. No. Maybe it's a Gamer Legion, maybe it's a 3D Max. I think, honestly, maybe it could be FaZe. It would be pretty funny if BC Game bought, Kerrigan, Elish, Frozen to play with Simple and Andu. It would kind of fuck, to be honest.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. Anyway, that's for another day. Hopefully we get to know something more there. The core I thought they were going to buy has signed for somebody else. Foot, who previously had a French roster, signed ex-NAVI Junior and retain Misuta for the 5th spot since Makazze is not with the team anymore. The French roster moves to Mousquetaires, which I've probably spelled wrong, and they are now playing without Nivera and instead with Joko and Sixer. So Foot have made an interesting move because they signed this French team just like a couple of months ago. But now they've released them again.
Yeah, probably wasn't very expensive to do, either one of those moves.
Probably.
And they get NAVI Junior, who are banging core, so no, fair enough to them. Pretty strong stuff. Misuta in for Makazze. At base level is not the end of the world. Like, he can shoot a bit. He's going to get set up on a lot of aggressive moves. Hopefully it works out. I mean, they've played pretty well so far together. So, yeah. That's fine.
Yep. Solid. I like the MOUZ signing. I talked about it as well. When it was leaked, some people in your Discord, I think, said it was a horrible signing. And I'm not even sure you could have done much better because Masuta is both young, performs decently well, has a pretty solid. I think he still has a solid enough ceiling where there's room to improve. But also, maybe most importantly, with this team, he has way more tier 1 experience than these guys are probably going to have when they're 22 years old. So, having played on Vitality so long. So,
no, experience is experience. Like, I don't really put that much stock into
I think
it. Like, think about it. Think of it as a bewildered, wide-eyed guy who was 18, 19, played a few events, then got tossed back into online play. Like, it's not, for me, that valuable, like, by itself. What's valuable to me is just that Masuta can play the roles. He's willing to be a grunt, an entry force. He's got some talent. Like, the fact that he played on Vitality is not going to help, I don't think.
He played under Apex, Extas, Sonic for about 2 years. I still think there's a lot of value in that.
I don't think there is.
Who knows? Maybe he absorbed everything like a sponge. Was there a grade?
If he did, and he's still playing like this, I don't think he's. Anyway.
Yeah. Fnatic have added Cypher to replace Matisse. So zero fix was not a fix.
Oh, it's in the name.
Yeah, he's zero fix. He fixes nothing.
Not the fix. And no, that's. It was kind of weird to see them sign or try zero fix. I was like, why? Because he's Ukrainian? Is that the only reason? Like, it really wasn't that sort of appealing. But in the end, yeah, they've made a better choice. I think Cypher, as much as he's not guaranteed banger, like tier 1 superstar, next guy, like the sort of talent Matisse was. He's a tidy little player who's had little runs here and there. Why not take a risk on him? And he's UKCS, so, you know, it makes sense with your org. You now have home representation.
Yeah. He's not all that he was cracked up to be after the Paris Major, but I think he's still a solid player. It's fine.
Yeah, I mean, got massively overrated after the Paris Major, quite importantly.
Exactly, yeah. But yeah, he's a solid enough player. 9 have confirmed Fuzi as their new opper.
I mean, F, really? I mean, Fuzi?
On loan, I will note. Important.
It's just an F tier move. I mean, Fuzi's clearly terrible. This is perhaps, yeah, I'm obviously trolling you. This is a bit of a weird place, I think.
You know, Tony would think this. Tony would absolutely say this.
It's a weird place to see Fuzi, but it's not a terrible move. Not for 9 at least. They're signing a guy who's been at the top, withstood a lot of pressure. I'm wondering if for Fuzi he can smurf enough to make this look like a reborn, we must take a risk on Fuzi and bring him into our tier 1 team again type stint. Like, what he achieved with Wildcard should have spoken for itself, but clearly it hasn't, so I'm hoping he can make something out of it.
He's up to 119 in 13 maps. It's a couple of qualifiers. They got 1 game off of qualifying for the Blast thing, which OG qualified for. And sorry, he's played 11 maps. 2 of those were I just took Fuzi and 9 into the context filter, and 2 of those were when he played for 9 before, because that I was gonna note that he's played with the org before. They used to have they are a Swedish org, and they used to have a Swedish team, and that's one of his first teams. I think that's part of the reason why he wanted to go here as well, was your comfort in the org matters to a degree, so it's close to home. And honestly, I think they have a decent roster. I don't think it's bad. I think you can find redeeming qualities in everybody here. Maybe
you have to try real hard. I mean, Kragan shave, but like, I'm trying to like you. I'm trying to like
Kragan
you.
is the guy. Kragan is the guy who's hard. But like Sejot, yeah, Rals, I think at this level is a rock in a way. And then Faben actually has played pretty well on 9. So for that, I think, unless my filter is wrong,
he's found his level of competition. You know.
Yeah, he's absolutely found his level. So for that, yeah, like it's not the worst place to be. And like I said, 119 so far in 11 maps.
Yeah, I think he needs to keep those sorts of numbers up for it to be worth it for him. He needs to be using this as a way to catapult himself back up. He's not going to drag this team into tier 1. I'm sorry, it's just not happening.
Yeah, no, true. I don't think he hopes to do that. He's on loan. I'm going to lean back a bit while I serve you these ones. Odek have confirmed Coldzera.
Why? Like, why are they doing this?
He should retire so he can be a Hall of Famer.
Bro really should. Like, he should just retire, take the accolades, stream, I don't know, spend his money on... Well, she's still putting up decent ratings in the region. So I guess for him, he's still got it. Still kicking. And in reality,
yeah,
it's
he's
like,
just that little bit off of tier 1.
Yeah. You're not that guy anymore. But it's fine.
It's a fine enough team. I think we talked about Odik
for
a
them.
little
It's
bit
an
on the show.
upgrade, probably. Like, it's probably an upgrade for them.
Yeah,
which is not the most generous review of the roster of the team, but
yeah.
Go get your bag, King. Yeah.
I mean, then again, maybe he's not. Maybe he isn't trying to get back to tier 1. Maybe he's trying to give back to the community by playing for all of these Brazilian teams and spreading his experience.
And taking all that money. Yes.
Yes, indeed. Sangul have confirmed the addition of Result. So this is what was at one point exactly Aurora, more or less, with Danists instead.
Yeah, it's similar. Yeah, basically, it's not that crazy different. It's a fine addition to have brought in Result. We'll see if this roster lives up to its potential, just because it is pretty high potential, but we haven't really seen it in this core too much. So I'm not like, it's not that I'm not sold like this couldn't work. I'm just, I'm waiting expectantly upon this team and this core to reach its ceiling. They never have.
Damn, this is awkward because Result was on Aurora and wanted to transfer to 9 Pandas. And then because he felt like Aurora weren't working hard enough, like he didn't feel like he had more ambition than the team. And then he couldn't move, but then he could move. Like, it was right before the major qualifier. You remember that when he got called back and they traded with Clax?
Yeah.
And now Clax is on the same team. Yeah, right. Awkward. 500 have finalized the roster with Volt.
This is such a weird team, man.
I think you liked Volt back around the days of the Paris Major.
Around Gamer Legion as a role player, I was like, yeah, I don't mind Volt. He's never going to be a star player for me. They're not on the top level team. And this roster is just odd. Overall,
it is odd, but let's
the
just
500 rebuild is just weird.
Let's just say all else being equal, like they stay at the level where they are. They hang around, top 50 at best. Do you need Volt to be anything other than a role player when you have Rainwaker, Red Star, and Hampus?
Probably, because of that last name you just put out.
At that level?
Yeah.
At that level? Yeah, maybe Hampus. I don't know.
We'll see. It's just fucking weird. Like, you
I don't hate it.
Three Bulgarians, a Swede, and a Romanian flag Brit. Like, it's
strange. I don't think this is going to be long-lived. I don't hate it in principle.
Or was he previously a British flag Romanian? Who knows? But either way, not a Bulgarian. Yeah. Like, it's just weird.
Yeah, it is weird. Could they have done much better?
Probably. Nah, probably not.
I mean, than Volt specifically. Like, who would you pick up to replace fucking
Oxygen?
Who? Patrick? Oxygen? Yeah. Spellen and Oxygen.
I don't know what their finances are like. I don't know if they could buy people out. If they're just purely going on free agents, I'd have to know who the free agents are. Like, I'm not Tony. Like, yeah. I hate this question off the cuff because I'm always like, I don't know the full list of everyone available to specifically this roster and their finances. Like,
I feel like if it was the worst signing ever, there would be somebody who stood out. It's like on paper this is fine because they've bought, but it's like
on paper,
for what you have,
pretty fucking mid.
Yeah, but like it's not gonna. This is not gonna qualify for Blast Bounty. This is a team which is only barely gonna beat Liquid. So this is
this team will play 2 overtime maps against Liquid before they beat them.
Yeah. Yeah. Lord. All right. Johnny Speeds have signed Heap and have probably removed Mines in the process.
Yeah, this is a weird one. Like, I'm not a big fucking Heap guy. Thought Mines was an interesting, like, speculative signing, or trial at least. I'd have liked them to have given him like a full shake, like a real run. Like a bit how they did Melo 9, you know? Melo 9 was there for a good while. He ended up settling in, ended up doing pretty good, developed good chemistry. Then they sold him on. Like, I think they could have tried that with Mines as well, rather than going for a provably underwhelming heap. So, you know, I just I don't really fuck with it. And for those who are interested, G2 Ares just beat Fish 1-2-3 on map 3. It's a 2-1 win. Clearly, Akros put their thumb on the scale.
I don't get what this move is.
Someone at Akros just had a cheeky bet. A cheeky bet on Fish 1-2-3.
Yeah. I don't know what this move is, the Johnny Speeds move, because you've given Heap a contract, but you haven't ended Mines' trial. I think he's playing later today instead of Heap in CCT, in a knockout game in CCT. He's listed anyway on his HLTV, and he's played the rest of the event. So you keep playing with Mines. You've given Heap a contract. You haven't given Mines a contract. And the other player you have on trial is an in-game leader, which Heap is not. So are they leaving the option for Mines to stay open because Draken would take in-game leading? And they'd kick Lekro instead if they like? It's super weird. Mines has played great for Johnny Speeds. I don't know why what could have gone wrong here for them to want to move away from it specifically. Very weird.
Yeah,
I'll have to ask somebody.
I don't like it.
Yeah, super weird. Wildcard Academy have added MHL, and I put this in because I saw somebody speculate that this might be a move where they're signing him to the academy team just to have him on contract, and at some point down the line, swap him with Friend.
It makes sense because Friend is not very good, and MHL is very talented, and we've seen that before. So,
yeah,
as I think I put it on a reply to someone's tweet, I was like, "Yeah, they've replaced their AWPer with a better AWPer on their academy." Like, it's weird.
Yeah.
And it's terrible, and it's classic wildcard at this point. Please go back to Southern Bathwater. Like,
have to compare him to Fusi as well. So, yeah, because you had him. Could have kept him. Anyway, Nemesis is a team that has formed and exists. And they are noteworthy because Robin has taken the step to coaching. And they also have Crucial and Thomas. Big week for X Into the Breach players.
Yeah, or Endpoint Reunion, whatever you want to call it, with Bevet and Tyne as the other two players. Fucking
Bevetine, Fripp, Thomas, Crucial, and then Robin as the coach.
This is dog shit. Next.
Finally, Mix, which is BNE after they said they would quit, but then didn't, and then I said they would quit again, and then didn't. Have confirmed the addition of Shalfie. So the full roster now reads Juan Flatro, Synopsy, Sceneri, Acor, and Shalfie with Stickle on the coach.
It could work. It could be something. But we all just give up. What are we still doing?
It is so funny how they quit and then came back and then quit and now they've come back again. Like half a month later.
This is... it's just getting frustrating, to be honest.
It's so funny. It is so funny. This team has existed since 2019, pretty much. I'll tell you, like Juan Flatro and Synopsy and Rigon was the original mix with Tudson and Anarchist, and they signed to Team Secret in 2019. And then they left that. They signed for Blink, and then they left that, and then they signed for. They left that and became Bad News Eagles, and they signed for Guild, and then they left that and became Bad News. Like, it's a whole thing. They became BNE. They stopped being BNE. They became BNE again, and now they stopped being BNE, and now they're back as Mix. It's these guys should retire, but they won't make Hall of Fame.
Yeah, if there was a Hall of Mid, they'll probably make the Hall of Mid. Like, they have long enough careers and enough cultural impact, and not even the Hall of Very Good. The Hall of Mid, they will definitely make.
Tier 2 Hall of Fame, I will say.
just call it the Hall of Mid at this point. Like, why are we calling it Tier 2?
Yeah, just
Sounds
for
too flattering.
for the level they're at,
Quan
they've done
flattering.
more than pretty much.
Uh,
For the level they're at, they've done more than pretty much anybody else by just making 3 majors. But yeah,
Hall of Mid.
that was their gimmick. Hall of Mid. That's about it. We've scraped the bottom of the barrel. I'm just gonna check. Has something come in the past few minutes? Because we've Monty have added Kakafu as a coach.
Don't care. At this point,
Yeah, nice.
we've been live for like 3 hours and I'm starving, so I'm happy to.
Me too. At this point, usually we've ended the show and then simple signs for BC game. That's usually what happens. So I just wanted to check, but nope, nothing is happening.
All right, cool. Prospects of the week. Some interesting picks here. My pick is going to be Bist, obviously, of VP Prodigy. We've been over them a little bit in their series with Liquid, but he's just been an absolute monster, ravaging teams. They also beat Foot 2-0. Definitely worthy of notice, and he has been spectacular in the process, winning clutches, hitting quick flicks, and even strong on the rifles. So, yeah, Bist, one to watch. We will be talking about him tomorrow on the streams, probably. There you go.
Yep, very good. I picked mine because I was told to.
Yes.
And you're also...
Good boy.
You want to watch him, I get it. He has he's recorded a 120 on Johnny Speeds these past couple of days. 2 losses, 1 win, but he was really solid in those final 2 best of 3s, and the 120 rating is insane. If they let him go, look, it's everything Medisport has done. Like, if they let him go after that, it does feel like it's just Medisport management all over again. So then maybe they can pick him up and remove him again. He's a very good player. He's a very solid player. He's shaping up to be a second male 09, and that's what people have been saying about him in Sweden for a year and a half before this. So it's nice to see that it actually sort of comes to fruition. And I hope he gets to stay with Johnny Speeds. I just moved half our show notes into the footer in the document.
Okay.
Oh well.
But anyway, that's going to wrap up the show. Thank you to everybody tuned in live. It's a decent fucking turnout today. Love it.
Yeah.
And remember, members, well, not just members, but everyone gets access to the VOD. Members get access to a bunch of extra bonus stuff, as well as supporting the channel. If you made it this far into the VOD and you're a VOD watcher, please give us your reason as to why neither NiKo nor Donk is the GOAT rifler. Make a case for a third player.
I was going to ask you that. I was going to ask you, where do they rank next to Get Right, Forest?
All right, now that Quack's done half your homework for you, go have fun. And yeah. We'll see
go
you
watch my
next week.
Instagram. I play CSGO Doku on my Instagram every day, and you should go watch it because it's really fun. And you play the game and give me a comment.
Guys, he doesn't post bikini pics anymore, so don't bother. Right.